you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening, come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. If we put in the time. Good evening, come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome into another Tuesday night with Joe Schmo and Kresha Easton of Difficult Research.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. You know why that's such a good thing? Because it really sucks when you can't.
Yeah.
So I've had sound issues, Joel, and we just had to do some kind of maneuvering. I think I'm still maneuvering as we speak, but yeah, so sound wasn't playing through my computer in my room that I usually stream from and join you guys with. So I'm in my bedroom on my other one. And so here we are. And so thank y'all for being patient. Sorry about that. Portal problems.
Hey, we're here. That's all that matters. We're here. Yeah. They're here. Thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate that.
Definitely.
I
know.
Dizzy, Salty, Nina, Jermaine, Lorianne, lots of people in here.
All right.
Oh, Northwest is already coming with the hard questions.
Oh, Northwest. I just figured. Yeah, bring them on. We'll try to answer them. What you got?
Well, we actually do have kind of a semi-answer to that. We have 2 new documents that dropped in the last couple of days. Do you want to take a look at those?
What is the crown thing? I don't know.
I don't know what the crown thing is. I don't have an answer to that. I have an answer to the Jeep thing.
Oh yeah, the Jeep thing. All right, I'm trying to get closer to my microphone here. Have the new motions been published? Lori's motion to suppress Jeep, etc.
So we don't have her actual motions yet. As of about an hour ago, they hadn't been posted online yet. I check about once an hour, every hour. I was napping about an hour ago, so.
Me too. So, them Tauruses is what we do.
Got to take those afternoon naps. But we do have the state's response to her motion, for her motion to dismiss based on evidence. Okay, let's just look at them first. I'm trying to read it from the top of my brain when I have it right here in PDF form, and I don't have to read it from my brain.
That way we can read your brain.
Right. I can read her brain. I don't think we want to read her brain.
No, we don't.
We've been there and it's scary.
It's very confusing.
Okay, so
fix your crown. It's crooked. Okay. Sorry.
Wait, what?
Moonlight View's crown was crooked.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You just gotta fix it. Gotta tuck your crazy in there. That's what Lori been doing. Ticking time bomb. Woo.
All right, so this is the latest document to come down, and it's the minute entry. So the court always takes a record of what happened in the last hearing, and they publish a minute entry. So this is what's called a minute entry from the final trial management conference that happened on May 14th. Courtroom 1104B, that's Judge Beresky's normal courtroom, which is tiny, and I'm glad he moved the trial back to 5D.
Right.
Which is not so tiny. I mean, we didn't actually find that out until this hearing, until the May 14th hearing. We didn't know.
That was my favorite hearing of all the hearings in the Vallow Daybell saga, y'all. And I feel so bad. I had like a 5-hour damn stream, okay, because I was started 2 hours early, which is never okay. I was making up for all the times I was late.
You got them all in one shot.
I did. I was like, okay. And so we just went for it. We didn't reschedule. And then, we had the 30-minute delay. Then we had the actual stream. And then, you actually came on and entertained me for a little bit. I feel so bad because I was just so enamored with, or whatever, I don't know the right word, but just
fascinated
how snarky he was shutting her down. And I was like, I was here for that. Like I will watch it over and over and over again and wear it out because it's like I had needed to see that. I needed to see her just not get her way for once,
Yeah, because he has been over accommodating. That was his exact, I've been over accommodating of you and I'm done with it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like watching a teenager be told no for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was good. I was here for it.
You always let me go out with my friends on Friday night. Like,
you know what my mom used to say to that? My mom would say, well, that's why I'm not her mom. And that's why I'm your mom. And I'd be like, yes, ma'am.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Judge Beresky is her judge. Anyway, so they do a summary, and there's something that's enlightening in this summary. Discussion is held with respect to pending motions and trial schedule. Motion for a new trial. The court received the state's response. Okay, so the state filed a response to our motion for a new trial. So they didn't rule on that. They continued that to another one. State's notice of intent to use defendants' other acts. The state withdraws the notice, the 404B notice, which is interesting to me. I wonder if they did that for appellate reasons because it's a hard thing to prove, or if they are like inviting her to come up and testify on the stand.
Oh, I think they would welcome it.
Yeah. Trina would love that.
Oh God, yeah. I would love to see Trina get that too. Just watch her roll her sleeves up and be like, all right, bitch. And you hear the music.
She sits there. Trina sits there with her hands like she's like wringing her hands whenever Lori's talking. She's like doing this.
She's needing go. Like
right.
Oh yeah, it's different.
She's releasing stress because Lori stresses her out like she does the rest of us.
And I mean, she stresses you out. She stresses me out. I know she stresses the audience out. So I can't imagine what number anyways, I can't imagine being my uncle and living with her and just getting into a disagreement. Can you imagine the battle lines that were drawn, like just, oh shit, No,
especially once she started going down that crazy train track, like into Neverland. Where's she going? Where's she coming up with this? He's possessed. He's a zombie. They're dark, they're light. I mean, once she started going down that, there's like, I can't imagine having to try and deal with that.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, like it would be awesome if there was no stipulations, or, you know, we didn't have to do all this legal, what can, you know, what you can use, what you can't use. If just everything was on deck and just let the state go just all out, just use whatever they want to use just to slam her ass, because her ass deserves to be slammed. She gets to breathe. That's where I'm at right now. You know, like, she gets to breathe, and she gets to huff and puff about what's going to be used against her and what's not going to be used against her, and what's prejudice and what's not. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit. You're a killer, and you have taken that basic human right away from two of your children. One, at least provable, one of your husbands. We don't know about the other one, but we have our ideas. You know, I mean, just she's avoidant of everything. So.
And what was it that Charles texted her? You're the destroyer of families. Is that what he
She's the
said?
destroyer of families. Yeah. And he actually quoted one of her movie lines, her favorite movie lines. And he said, I even looked it up and I was like, okay, I never watched this movie, but I still don't even know which one it is. But the movie line that he quoted her as being her favorite movie line was, "You're a destroyer of love." And it's like a teenage girl. And she's like, "You're a destroyer of love." Because I found that interesting because of how Lori revealed through, I think, her post-conviction interview with Arizona Family, True Crime Family, or whatever, that her and her sister could talk a whole conversation in movie quotes. And I was like, well, you don't say. Because we also learned over the course of this investigation through Zulema Pastenes, which is one of the, in my opinion, co-conspirators. Okay. Yeah, her hands are not clean, but she was married to Alex for like 2 weeks of his god awful life. And anyways, but they would use these code words like pretty bird and not great Tom, or not great Bob, not great Bob. Anyways, so if y'all want to know if they talk in code, yes, they did. They do. And I mean, the movie quoting and talking an entire conversation between her and Summer, they can talk in movie quotes, all that stuff. I mean, it's just par for the course.
Right. And then add on to that the Mormon code too, like Nephi.
Yeah. Amen. and the Gadiantons, which I don't know why it's not being made a big thing. So to me, it's a big thing because it's like the projection is real and strong with this conspiratorial team. I don't know what to call them. Because like if it's Chad sitting there telling Lori, yeah, it's just another step in taking down the Gadiantons, you know, when referencing Brandon and Kay, my mom. And so it's like, how can you not talk about that? Because they're thinking, or they're preaching, they're talking about taking down the Gadiantons when they are, in fact, in my opinion, the Gadiantons. They are the very thing that they are trying to take down, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it does.
And understanding, you know.
So with regard to Zulema and this upcoming trial, Brandon had just moved into a new house, which is coincidental because Lori had just moved into a new house too before Charles showed up and got murdered by Alex.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Brandon had just moved into a new house. How did Alex find out where he was living at?
Right. Exactly. Not to mention Melanie Boudreaux at the time. You know, I have my opinions as to, you know, do I believe Melanie Boudreaux's story and Ian Pulowski's story that they had just met through an app for singles, which is interesting that plays a role in this because that's how Charles met Nancy Jo.
Nancy Jo, yeah.
That's how apparently a lot of single Mormons out there, you know, and I'm not shaming anybody. I'm just trying to figure it out, what the significance is, if any at all.
Right. And you know that anybody that runs a website like that is doing it for profit. They're not like It's like farmersonly.com, right?
Yeah. Gypsy
they're
Rose
hooking
and Nick Godishon, it's
right.
yeah, it's interesting though. But so I don't believe Melanie Boudreaux's story. I don't believe Ian's story. I believe that maybe they were hooking up a little prior to what we know, because again, and all it is hearsay right now, but I don't look to any of these people to come forward and just confess truthfully, even, I mean, they
No,
do everything to cover their own ass.
Well, there's a reason that Judge Boreski asked her in the last hearing, so have these witnesses been subpoenaed? And she goes, the subpoenas are out. That means they haven't been served. They have not been served yet, people.
Right. That's I call that
hiding. They're avoiding those like the plague.
Yep. You ever seen The Matrix? And they're like, wow. Yeah.
They're avoiding them like Brandon hid after he got shot at, and like I would have done too.
And they're also avoiding them like the law taught Lori to avoid being served being brought to community bridges. Okay. How they told her to avoid, but just don't answer the door and we can't just come in there. That's exactly what they're doing. Yeah. I would too. I wouldn't be friends with her. She just happened to be my aunt. I didn't pick her. Anyways.
All right. Continuing on with this minute entry from the court. So the state had filed that 404B notice and they withdrew it. And then they filed a request to preclude the media from showing the face of a testifying witness. That's Nick Balance. That's the FBI agent that goes undercover at times. So
that's the one I joked with on the elevator.
Did you really?
Oh God, yeah. It was hilarious. It was at Lori's trial. And it was me, Mom, Larry, and I want to say my Aunt Susan, maybe my Uncle Jerry too. It was like we were all shoved in one elevator, and it was Ron Ball and Nick Balance. And because Nick sat next to me in the pews, or whatever you want to call them, the seating. And so it was funny because there was a sketch artist at that time, because there was no video. We would get the audio at the end of the day after the trial day. Well, so we're piled into this little elevator, and he's a big, tall FBI guy, right? And I think somebody asked, maybe Larry asked Nick Balance if he was testifying. He was like, "Are you testifying today?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to." And he had a big binder, and so it was kind of quiet and awkward, and here I go, I was like, oh, wonder what you're going to look like today. Like, I wonder what your picture is going to look like today, according to the sketch artist. Okay. We all laughed. It was very funny. Either that, it was probably not. It was just probably awkward, and we all just laughed and laughed.
I can tell you what he would have looked like if I was drawing it, but that's a whole other story.
His testimony.
That's funny because in the Delphi case, I rode up the elevator with one of Richard Allen's defense attorneys, Jennifer Auger, and we talked weather, because that was like October in Indiana. It was getting cold, and I'm like, it's getting cold at night helps me sleep better. I like it when it's cold at night. I open up the windows, and she's like, I'm the same way. So, but we didn't talk trial. I did not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was studiously avoiding the trial talk with her, though.
Right. Yeah. I didn't understand all those rules and stuff before, but yeah, you're not supposed to talk. I mean, not that I didn't have anything, but I'm just saying I'd never been through any of this before. This is really different. The rules are very particular.
Yeah. So one of the very first days, I ran across Judge Boreski down on the bottom floor. So I had just made my way through security, and I was looking up. They have Maricopa is really cool because they have these big boards that are electronic that show where all of the people with cases, where their cases are being held, like what courtroom. And I was like, just double checking. I'm like, I'm not sure what courtroom that's going to be in. Is it going to be 5D? Is it going to be 5C? So I went down there to recheck. And Judge Boreski comes out of one of the back doors behind those boards. And I looked at him and I made eye contact, and he immediately put his eyes down and walked past me with like, "Don't talk to me. Don't say anything to me. I want no contact. I want no interaction with you at all. Leave me alone." And I'm like, that dude's got Lori on his mind.
Poor thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, blessing or curse. You definitely know it's a curse. It's a damn curse.
Yes. Yep.
You know, Judge, I was seeing, my cat's name is Karen. She said, I heard Judge Boreski dresses really well. And, you know, I never would have thought that either about Judge Boyce, but Judge Boyce actually have a brief video of him walking into the courtroom for Lori's sentencing hearing in Idaho. And he was dressed really nice too, which was, it kind of threw me back for a little bit. You know, we're used to seeing them in their cloaks. I worked for 2 judges here in town. And it's very intimidating to go in for a job interview and there's 2 judges in their cloaks, you know, and they're just questioning you whether or not, you know, you're sufficient enough for the job as a ward clerk or something. And it is just, or it should be intimidating, but I wasn't intimidated by it. It's just different, you know.
Yeah, he does dress cool, and he has a cool old convertible that Trace on the case and I saw him in one day after the trial. For some reason, we left later than everybody else, but he comes pulling up, and so there's underground parking underneath the courthouse, and he comes pulling up the ramp, and the gate opens up, and he comes out like right next to us, and I'm like, "Don't break any traffic laws. Don't break any traffic laws. I'm right beside a judge." And of course, he wouldn't have cared.
Like a hurricane.
But it was a really cool car. He had on his shades. He had the top down, and he's just cruising home after the trial. He's like trying to forget everything that happened today.
Yeah. Oh, and Jermaine. Okay, Jermaine says Boreski went to law school in Idaho, in Moscow, Idaho. Remember? Yeah, I remember hearing that too. I do.
Oh, I did not hear that. Oh, yeah. Wow.
It's just it's a small world, especially in the Mormidor.
Right. So is he? I wonder. I mean, that like increases the odds that he might be LDS, right?
I mean, he looks like he came from LDS. Whether he's practicing or not, that's a whole nother thing. And I mean, I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm not saying, oh, there's a look, but there kind of is. There kind of is. You know, the bright-eyed, especially if there's blonde hair, blue eyes. That's, I'm not saying, I didn't make it up. I'm just here trying to decide. He's not Mormon. Okay. Like, it's the same thing was going on about Judge Boyce, you know, whether or not he was practicing or not. And my thing with Judge Boyce was that, I mean, that's fine, great and dandy, but he's still part of a community. He's a judge in a community of 98% Mormon influence. Okay. Like that's the makeup of it. So still, you're still in that mentality for sure, whether or not you're practicing or not. Like that influence.
And if you're like Boreski, where Trey says he's not LDS, he has been around Mormons a lot in his life.
Yes.
If he got his law degree in Idaho and now he's a judge in Maricopa County.
Yeah.
He's been around Mormons a lot.
Yeah. And so I'm not trying to hold it against them. I'm just trying to figure out what that looks like in this vacuum, you know?
Right. Yes. Yeah. And the jurors too. Like how many of the jurors were or were not, or may have been or may not have been LDS and practicing LDS.
I think two were actually from that background, which I found very interesting. And that's if it's accurate, you know, I don't know.
Right. And I think that one lady that was the one that had some interview with juror number 15 at the same time when they first came out. I heard she was. I have no knowledge of that. No personal knowledge.
I don't think she is anymore. I remember watching the interview with Lauren. I don't think she's anymore, but she grew up with the background. So I mean, who else is going to explain who Nephi is in that case?
That's a good question. Bronforth has a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if I can go all the way back up and highlight that. There we go. Yep. Withdrawal of 404B. So there's 404B, and then there's like a 609 also. And one of those is about prior bad acts, and one of those is prior convictions.
That's a good question.
I think prior bad acts is 404B, and those can only be brought in if she gets on the stand and testifies for herself. And for some reason, Trina withdrew that. The 609.
Why? That doesn't make sense. Is it like to play with her mind, or is it like, you know? I wonder what other tactic is behind that.
Does it open up the door for appellate issues? Is what I wonder. Like we have this case. We got it good. We don't need to bring in her prior bad acts, but it's only if she testifies. The 609 is her prior convictions, and the reason that 609 was amended was because now she has a new conviction. So
I didn't know that.
that's still on the table. Yes, the 609 is still on the table because she does have a new conviction, so they can amend that with her new conviction. And Lori was like, "Well, I didn't know what the law was." I'm like, "Go figure."
And didn't they not offer her a plea agreement as well?
No, they did not. There's no plea agreement on the table. No.
Okay. I remember because whenever they were going back and forth, and I mean, I knew this, but I couldn't really just share it, you know, out in the public because I ain't trying to get my ass hammered. Okay. For just talking stuff that I know nothing about. But, you know, at the time, I knew that the state and the Idaho state prosecutors were trying to bargain with Chad. And Chad snarled his nose up at everything. Like, he was just too good to plead guilty to any of that. So he was going to take his chances in the court. And I just thought that was so, to me, it was just like such a bold, arrogant, like, move, you know? It's like, God dang, are you serious? I mean, you must want your stuff aired out because we know, everybody knows, you know, it's like, we know the kids did not off themselves and did not, you know, dismember on your property spontaneously. Okay. We know that they got there for some reason. I don't know. It's a lot of difficult stuff to have to.
And we know that Charles did not shoot himself twice.
Right. Mm-hmm. We know Tammy didn't aspirate on her own, you know. Anyways.
Yeah. Northwest has a good point. She's not going to, though, because she wants her day in court. She wants her days in court. She wants to be in the spotlight. She wants to say what she wants to say. I don't think she's ever going to testify in her own defense because,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if she does, she subjects herself to cross-examination, and I don't think she wants to go through that. But she tries to test. No, she tries to testify through her cross-examination of the state's witnesses.
Yeah,
and she's been called on that many times.
I never would have really seen that in action had it not been for those 2 or 3 now interviews that she's done, where she's gotten to say, you know, the reason she's doing what she's doing, the reason she is her own defense attorney now is because her attorneys in Idaho would not say what she wanted them to say. So she's going to use this time here to kind of do a dual purpose strategy to where she's defending herself, yet also confronting people she believes lied about her, which would be Mom, Brandon, Adam. You know, those are people she thinks were conspiring against her. And we've watched already her do this with Adam and Mom, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Salty.
All right. So we're getting down to the meaty part of this. It's on the beginning of the next page. So granted the motion not to show Nick Valence's face. Here's an amended request for Rule 609. That's her new conviction can be brought in without hearing.
Wow.
With respect to the
Is that what
motion
she
in
left
limine.
blank? Did she leave that blank or something? Because she was like, I didn't know what to write there because it was such
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. She said, I don't know the law, so I haven't been sentenced yet. But 609 isn't about your sentencing; it's about your convictions, and she has been convicted of the
That's
murder
true.
of Charles Vallow. So
we were
they
there.
can bring that in. Yes.
You were there. But we watched as that happened, and she wanted to skirt right past it.
Yep. She left it blank, and she told the judge, "It's just because I didn't know the law."
Correct. We know that. Glad to hear you admit that. Yeah.
With respect to the motion in limine precluding inadmissible evidence relating to Tammy Lachik, the defendant states she received the motion, needs time to review it. The defendant shall file her response no later than tomorrow, May 21st. Okay. With respect to the defendant's motion for no restraints, the non-party Maricopa County Sheriff Jerry Sheridan showed up in court. He sat down at the prosecution table with Trina Kay. That's who, if you were looking at that video, he was the one seated to the right. He was only there for 2 motions, and then he left. It is order denying the defendant's motion. So she tried to say that if she didn't have her RACC belt on, that the sheriff said that they would allow that if they posted an armed guard in the courtroom.
She tried twisting it.
Yeah, she did. And honestly, that's kind of how I remember it too. It's like she could be without restraints if they put another armed guard in there.
That was just an option, but that's not the option that they went with.
Right.
She's so slippery, y'all. She's so nasty. She's a demon in a damn corner.
So they denied the motion for no restraints. As further ordered, the defendant shall not wear any visible shackles, but the RACC belt, blah, 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 blah. Then there was a motion for time to consult with the advisory council. This was funny because she said, in the last trial, which was Charles's trial, I didn't get time to meet with my team. She called it her team.
Yeah.
Even though she's her own representative, I didn't get time to consult with them during breaks and lunch. Judge said, well, you did during breaks, but maybe not lunch, so we'll grant you lunch now. And then like 15 minutes later, she goes off and she says, you've never granted any of my motions ever. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I was sitting here 15 minutes ago and I granted one of your motions.
That sounds like some shit my mom would say back in the day, you know? Like, pretty sure I was here 15 minutes ago whenever I told you, yeah, you know?
Right.
I love it. You must have teenagers because dealing with her reminds me of one of those, a difficult teenager.
Right. Basically. Totally. Yes, totally.
But mom, yeah, well.
But Judge, you never grant any of my motions ever.
And the way she just was so dramatic, like a toddler putting her glasses down. No. Or whatever she said. I forget the exact word she used, but he asked, like, is there anything else? No. I don't know. She just withered away. It was disgusting.
She did like 3 or 4. She did like 3 or 4 times in that hearing when he would not rule in her favor. She would go, "No, Judge."
Yeah, like I don't know the words. I need to look at the damn dictionary before I go live.
Defeated. She was defeated.
There you go. That's it right there.
She was totally defeated. And
she was. It's like her own little hissy fit, you know.
Yeah.
With the dramatics. That's
right.
She does not lack in dramatics.
Ever. I wonder how that's going to play. So here's a thought that's a crazy thought. She's going to get sentenced to 25 years to life for murdering or conspiracy to commit murder of your uncle. That's 25 to life as a sentence there.
Okay.
She's going to get something similar here, more than likely, allegedly.
No, she gonna.
And then she has the 5 sentences in Idaho that she has yet to serve out. Where is she going to serve these sentences?
Idaho first. Yeah. So she's gonna die there. I mean, unless translated beings, she might just show us. It'd probably be something my grandchildren would be able to write about.
Or Jesus comes to earth to exonerate them both, her and Chad.
Yeah, lets the walls down, puts cracks in the foundation.
Right.
All the things, because they're going to be exonerated. So we're here watching. We got plenty of popcorn. Bring it on. What you waiting on?
All right. So discussion is held with respect to defendant's list of witnesses. The defendant is informed that the witnesses may be precluded. That means excluded. I don't know why they use fancy words in court, but precluded means excluded due to late disclosure. So she's known who was on her witness list since February, I think, was when she filed her 15.2 with her list of witnesses. And recently we saw the judge say, okay, tell me which ones were for the last trial and which ones are for this trial. But either way,
who's relevant?
There's been plenty of time for her investigator to oversee serving her witnesses with subpoenas and having the state interview them, which they have a right to do. And none of it. We're 3-4 months past where she could have had this done already, and she hasn't.
Yeah. It's really showing in this trial, isn't it? Like, I was really pissed off the last trial because she seemed really on top of her P's and Q's, which I don't like seeing her excel or I don't like her looking good or thinking she looks good or whatever it is that goes on in her crazy ass mind. Okay. I don't like it. I don't like her. And it's like that's caught up with her. And I do enjoy her getting caught and busted every which way. Thank you, KJ. Love always wins. Thank you. Love you. Oh my goodness. It's different being here in my bedroom. But if she wins, if she happens to win an appeal, she would be transferred to here. Okay.
Oh.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's complicated. And it might help if you would actually hire an attorney instead of trying to represent yourself. Just saying.
Yeah. And Northwest asks, why does Charles' phone matter? Dworkin. He passed 3 months before Brandon was shot at. I know. Yeah. And in Brandon's case, through the Gilbert police investigation, Brandon discovered that he had an old Note 8 that he was using at the time he was married to Melanie and all this stuff was going down. And he had discovered that somebody, not him, probably Melanie Boudreaux, had rejected Charles's phone calls. So anytime Charles would call or text Brandon, they would go into a folder. And Brandon would never really get the actual, communication from Charles until he discovered that after the fact, And so they did do a little investigation into the phone, into the device, and saw that that's how it was set up in there. So it appears that probably Melanie had done that, orchestrated, one could say. And we knew that how after Charles was shot at, we knew that Melanie did text Lori and asked her if Tylee had access to her phone. At that time, we learned that Lori had taken away Tylee's means of communication. That's very important and helpful to their conspiracy. The less talking about it, obviously, that's some of us wonder if that's why Tylee was, mainly done away with, not just for the money motivations, but because there were witnesses to that murder, to Charles's murder, so, and Lori's the only one standing after, so
literally.
Yeah. She
only
wants
one
to use
standing.
their words, but she doesn't want, it doesn't matter that she killed them off, right. We've dealt with that and all this. This has been fascinating for real.
Yeah. Well, Lonnie Dworkin got appointed as her expert, Northwest, in the 2021 case, which was Charles Vallow's murder. But I imagine he's also appointed in her 2022 case, the one that's coming up here for Brandon's attempted murder. So I wonder if there are other phone records that maybe Lonnie is checking out that Lori wants him to check out, because she wants to know what's on those phones. Like, there may be something that she feels like she didn't get in discovery that she wants to find out. Like, Nancy Joe, did you just talk about me your whole date?
Right. Don't flatter yourself, hooker. She did that with such grace, with such class.
She did. That was awesome.
Yeah. It was, look, y'all, if y'all haven't watched, last night Megan sent me a link, and it was a link to a video that she had available on Patreon at that time, but it was going to be public, and I believe it became public over the course of the night of last night. And Megan Connor did an extensive deep dive into Lori's family of origin, Barry Cox. I suggest as soon as we are finished, not now, but as soon as we're finished, y'all go and watch that, because y'all, I was just like, my jaw was on the damn floor. And I was like, this is what we've been needing.
I saw that she had done that, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it is definitely on my top list of
until you watch it.
We're going to drop that. We'll drop the link here at least. Yeah, we'll drop the link here in chat to that.
You did a phenomenal job, Megan, if you're watching.
Yeah, she called him a felon father or something like that.
Well, I mean, she did it with class. That's what reminded me when we were talking about Nancy Joe just now, and it reminded me of what Megan did with that information about Barry Cox and the family of origin. And I mean, she did it so well that the actual actions of Barry and the Cox family speak for themselves. Right. You can see them in action even today with Lori and her motions in court. So.
All right. Continuing with this, we do this all the time. We're like at the bottom of page 3, the first motion we're reviewing.
That's just a framework. That's just to keep us on task. Thank God you provide the bones. Right?
The court right. The discussion is held with respect to the juror questionnaire and trial schedule right there. The court will finalize the questionnaire. Questionnaire will be sent out on the 22nd. They will review the remote answers on May 29th. May 30th, jurors can walk in, and if they didn't have a chance to electronically fill out one, they can fill out one in person. But then that will be the in-person voir dire also on the 30th. I'll be there for that. The court will screen the jurors through June 23rd. So we know opening statements judge has for June 2nd. Trina K, has a couple of witnesses that can't be there that first week. So she's going to go into the following Monday, June 9th. Here's the interesting part. So that's trial schedule. We know about trial schedule. We'll figure it out. It's not going to go as long as we thought it was. It's going to be over by Friday, May 13th or June 13th. Anyway, here's the highlighted part. So we knew that she. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, usually the way things have panned out in the past is they tend to land on anniversary dates. And like I said before, the June 9th it'll be the anniversary of the kids being found on Chad Daybell's property. So I say it'll end there. That's usually.
We're not allowed to wear like anything in court that could be considered like influential, but that June 9th, that's going to be a big day. That's going to be her last 3 witnesses testifying for the state against Lori, and Lori's not going to have any
she don't have
case to
anything.
present herself. No, she's got nothing.
Right. It's time reality hits her. Like it's hit us over and over and over again for the past 6 years. I'm waiting on that day, Will it be effective? I don't know, but it needs to happen. So.
All right. So this was the interesting part to me, the part that I have highlighted, because we knew she filed motions, but we didn't know exactly what those motions were. And we still haven't seen those that I know of, to my knowledge, on the court website. Let the record reflect that the defendant provides the following motions for filing: defendant's motion to suppress all evidence pertaining to Jeep Wrangler license plate LWD0997. And I don't have a problem showing that now because that was registered, and it's not registered to who it was registered before. So that's not like private information anymore.
Okay. I remember that. I was like, I don't think, he don't live there anymore. The rental address, and he doesn't. Right. We could talk about Brandon's license plate when they were trying to serve.
No. Brandon had a Tesla, right? The Jeep Wrangler. Wouldn't that be Tylee's Jeep Wrangler?
It was registered to Charles, but it was, of course, Tylee was the primary driver. She was paying the notes and all that stuff.
And she paid her bills on time, right?
Yep. Which, I mean, why would Lori, out of all the vehicles they had, she had obviously traded in or I don't know, she had a Q Infinity's SUV, something or another that she had when she was married to Charles, and right at the time of his murder even. And then they had, of course, Tylee, Uncle Charles put it in his name, but Tylee paid the notes on her Jeep. Okay. And then, Alex had his truck, but then whenever they moved to Rexburg, they got jointly, Alex and Lori jointly bought a Nissan Rogue. Okay. That would end up being given to Colby. Like Colby got shortchanged like 3 different times with 3 different vehicles that were given to him from his mom. I want to say 3. It could just be 2. But I mean, like the police went and they found blood stains and stuff in there that they tested for. And I mean, can you imagine, your mom gives it to you and then the police show up and they're just like, yeah, we need this. It's just gotta be so it's cringe. So cringe.
Well, it's got to have some kind of a traumatic effect on you mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
Relationship wise. So
why did they take, we're thinking, you got to think about how Melanie Boudreaux-Pawlowski was in Rexburg September 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th. It's kind of weird. If you look at the whole month of September, you had Zalima. Well, first, I think you had Melanie, Gibb, and David Warwick, who were there. I say they were there for Tylee's murder. That's just me. Don't write it down. Okay. I don't have anything to back my ass up on that. But it just seems to be that's my conspiracy theory. Okay. And then you have Zalima, who goes and visits Rexburg in the middle of the month, around the 15th or so, for a couple days. Then you have Melanie Gibb and David Warwick, who for sure go, and they're there around the 22nd, 23rd of the month when JJ, my nephew, was murdered. Okay. Then you have, it's like Melanie Boudreaux's turn. She goes up there for a couple of days. She's there right before the conspiracy to shoot her estranged husband at the time. I mean, that's just, I'm like, your proof of her conspiring is those 4 days that she was up there in Rexburg without Tylee and JJ being present. Tylee's Jeep's there. It's a 4,000-pound freaking eyesore, okay, who the primary driver is Tylee, and it's parked there, and you're not going to ask, why isn't Tylee, if Lori's telling you that Tylee's off at BYUI, you're not going to sit there and say, well, why is her vehicle here? Okay, because I know you're a liar, Melanie Boudreaux. I know you're a fucking liar. And that's just me. So sorry. I didn't mean to use that word. But it pisses me off.
Sometimes that's required in this case.
Yeah. I just think she's a effing liar who's, they're slippery in their slippery language. It works for them. I don't know their voodoo. I don't know what the hell they use. Okay. I don't know what magic or whatever the hell they're bippity boppity and booing. Okay. But it's going to catch up to you. It's going to catch up to you. And I have nothing but time. Nothing but time. So I'll be waiting. Sorry, I'm trying to calm down.
Yep, I gotcha. All right, so her second motion was motion to dismiss for non-preservation of crucial evidence. We're going to see the state's response to that in a second. That is about actually Brandon's Tesla door and window. And then there's.
Do you know that Brandon's car actually recorded? It had cameras on it, and I hope like hell that comes in. I don't remember seeing it though in the investigation report, but that doesn't mean anything.
Right. And then her third motion was to preclude evidence of phone data and text messages. Oh, don't let this shit in. Come on, you can't let my shit in.
Don't use my own words against me.
Right?
Damn it.
I want to see these motions. So I'm feeling the urge to go back and check the court website again, because these have got to be coming down the pike like really soon.
Anytime.
Like the next day or so. Yes, any day, anytime.
Thank you. Thank you so much for keeping on top of these, and because I don't know what to make of them.
It's become like an OCD thing for me. Like I get the urge to I got to go check that Arizona court website.
It's like Chris. Wait, what's the name of that comedian? He talks about crack, and he scratches his face, and he's like, "Oh, gotta get some crack." I don't know. Anyways, I'll try to think of the.
Gotta check the docket. Gotta check the docket.
Yep. Anyways.
All right. So remote questionnaires, May 29th. That may or may not be open to the public, but that's going to be in his normal courtroom 1104. That's not going to be in 5D. But then May 30th, they will be in 5D starting at 10 a.m. for jurors to appear in person. That's when they did a little bit of a clown show, and they had the public moving around from side to side and coming in different orders and moving us around. So they could accommodate the potential jurors. The first one, they sent out 200 questionnaires, and there were 55 that cleared the electronic review. That's going to happen similar to what's going to happen on the 29th. So 55 out of 200, they're sending out 300 this time. So we could see 75 to 80 jurors come in on the 30th in person.
You're going to tell us all about those people, right?
I hope so. Because they were prepared to lock us out of the courtroom if there weren't enough seats available for the public and the jurors.
You have to set up a protest and be like, hell no, we won't go.
right? Like the Karen Reed no media zone.
Lindsay Hendricks saves the day and says, yes, Dave Chappelle. That's who I was talking about. And the comedian.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Gotta get the portal. Thank you.
All right. Last day still remains June 30th. We're going to be done by the 13th. I would put money on us being done by Friday, June 13th.
That's nasty, KJ.
Further ordered affirming prior custody orders. Matter concludes. Okay, we are in recess from that document. Now, this one's not quite as interesting, but it is interesting. This is the state's response to her motion to dismiss for non-preservation of crucial evidence. And I think somebody just commented on that, who just said,
Yeah. Tyrone.
Here we go. That has to be precluded if the door was destroyed. I mean, that's a legal argument. That is a legal argument.
Well, but who destroyed the door? Why is the door destroyed?
It was supposedly in possession of the Gilbert Police Department.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
but it just kind of came back. It brings me back to Carl. Okay. It always brings me back to damn Carl because he's like, and after, whenever he was being questioned by the paparazzi, I think that's a hilarious word, but you know, the media, and he was saying, you know, show me the conspiracy. Okay. Showing me the projectile or the trajectory of the bullets, you know, how they went into Charles, that doesn't prove conspiracy. I'm like, the bullets are there because of the conspiracy. Like, that is the conspiracy to commit murder, you know? So, I mean, right. I understand his argument, but it always brings me back to, you know, the chicken or the egg kind of.
Yeah. And that's the egg. Like the bullets in
Charles.
The house, in the baseboard, and in Charles. Are the egg. They're the end result of the conspiracy. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's there's no, you don't come back from that. That's also part of it, you know. Anyways, I'm just like, you don't have to see how it was, you know, you don't have to see, I understand what he's saying. Like, you don't have to see the way, if a bamboo shirt stopped a bullet, okay, like Lori would like you to believe. I'm just saying it just, the fact that the bullet is there and the victim is laying on the table, that is why we're here, you know.
Yeah.
Legal arguments. It's so crazy.
So I kind of expected her to act like she did in the hearing at some point in the trial, and she never did. And she didn't get her way. So what do you think the odds are that she might act that way again at some point in this trial? Or is she going to keep her, you know, her little girl voice on and keep her, you know, smiling at the jury?
Keep sweet, pray, and obey. Right. That was a big thing too for Lori at the end. I don't know if y'all realized that. It kind of dawned on me when she was asking Detective Duncan if her and her brother were obedient, basically. Did we, you know, participate, you know, what word am I looking for? Y'all know I suck at the words, but
were we compliant?
Yeah, were we compliant? Did we cooperate? And what I heard was Lori asking if they were obedient Mormons, because that's a big, huge thing in temple worthiness, is if you're obedient, because they don't know grace, basically. Like the best thing you can teach a Mormon is grace, because there's this definition. It's never by actually showing, you know, they don't know how to show grace, but they know the definition of it. But
right. They don't practice it, because you are supposed to achieve perfection through your acts. There's nothing about grace that has to do with you performing according to the doctrine of the church and the rules and the guidelines of the church. There's nothing grace about that. And we all know as Christians that that's the only way to get into heaven. Right.
But it's just interesting to see that maybe Lori equates her compliance and Alex's compliance with the investigation as being worthy, good, we're clear, we're exonerated. Like, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to understand too. Just kind of factoring that into the personality.
Mormons actually have, I was raised when I was growing up in the Mormon Church to like have a negative view of grace. Like, you can't just do whatever you want and get forgiven for it.
Right.
Okay. But
yeah. Beach Bum says the shirt is innocent. It functioned properly as an ordinary short sleeve shirt. Amen. Amen.
Shirt doesn't need any grace.
Mm-mm. No, but it'll take it.
What
Oh
was
my
that?
gosh.
Was that a $200
I just
bamboo
keep waiting
shirt? Is
on,
that
like,
what that was?
yeah, that Lori said she paid for. I'm like, yeah, I don't think you paid for it. Yeah, I don't think you worked. I'm joking. You know what I'm saying? She was a housewife. She just went and simply ordered it or picked it up. I have a bamboo pillow. Okay. I don't think it's going to stop a bullet. If so, I mean, oh my gosh, law enforcement, take this by storm. You start wearing bamboo shirts instead of bulletproof vests.
Yeah, we don't need no stinking Kevlar. We got bamboo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We got Lori's bamboo.
She is so silly.
Goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the state's response to the defendant's motion to dismiss for non-preservation, state of Arizona through unassigned counsel. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Request the court deny the defendant's motion to dismiss since the Gilbert police did not act in bad faith. So that's their primary argument. So they're not saying the Gilbert police didn't get rid of the door and the window. They're just saying they didn't act in bad faith. So is that something that they have to prove? And does she have the legal wherewithal to challenge this response to this motion and say, it doesn't matter if you think they didn't act in bad faith, they got rid of the evidence. But let's see what the rest of it says. When they decided not to preserve the Tesla and the Tesla driver's side window, and any testing of the Tesla window would not exonerate this defendant against the action she took in Rexburg, Idaho, to aid in the charge of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Brandon Boudreaux. So she was in Rexburg when Brandon was getting shot at.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That to me was like the textbook freaking, like you can see them wheel in, carrying or whatever, the tire from the back of the Jeep, the back seat. Just why didn't they just like use their garage? It doesn't make any sense, but I'm glad that they did what they did. But it's so textbook,
So, but was she in Rexburg when the shooting happened?
Yes. Allegedly. Because she was their devices too. So it's really interesting when you really read that and pick.
So where was that storage unit at where they unloaded the spare tire in the back seat?
It was down the road in Rexburg.
So they unloaded those out of the Jeep, and then Alex allegedly drove it down and took a shot at Brandon.
Yes. Then, and they got the windows tinted too at Dan's window tinting.
For real?
Yep.
Oh, man. Wow. Memorandum of Points and Authorities. On October 2nd, Brandon Boudreaux was residing at, there's a specific address. He doesn't live there anymore, so don't go hunt him down. That morning, he left his residence at 7:25, took his children to school, dropped off his youngest with his soon-to-be ex-wife. So Melanie was down there too.
Yep.
And went to the gym. Around 8:40, where was Melanie living at then if they were estranged? So the kids were with him and she was somewhere else, according to this. There's lots of details here that I don't know about. Around 8:40 a.m., a neighbor was backing out of his driveway and observed a Jeep parked next to Brandon's driveway. The Jeep was parked, so the front of the Jeep was facing the front of a white SUV. The neighbor noted that the Jeep had tinted windows and a Texas license plate. Do we know that Tylee's Jeep had a Texas license plate? Is that what that plate was in her other motion? I already closed out that other motion. I'm going to pull that up real quick just to look at that. I don't think it says a state on it. Jeep Wrangler license plate LWD0997. It doesn't say what state it was from. Okay. The neighbor had never seen that Jeep before. At approximately 8:48, another neighbor was walking his dogs. So the Gilbert police did a decent job of interviewing the neighbors, unlike what we saw in Chandler. Sorry, Nathan Duncan, but yeah, not sorry. Another neighbor was walking his dogs when he saw a Jeep. Let me make sure I haven't lost Kresha. Okay, she's still there. The driver's seat was pushed all the way forward to this. The neighbor noticed the Jeep was running. The driver's seat was pushed all the way forward to the steering wheel, and he could not see in the back of the Jeep due to the tinted windows. Brandon returned home at approximately 9:13 a.m. As he approached his driveway, he slowed. His Tesla began opening the garage door. As he slowed, he noticed the Jeep. He watched as the rear window of the Jeep lifted up and a rifle barrel pointed out the rear window. He heard a loud bang and his driver's side window shattered. We're going to hear about this in court in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Boudreaux hit his gas and drove away from the house.
Jason wants to know how Boudreaux hit his gas if it's an electric car. Anyways, yeah, he brought that up the other day. I was like, oh yeah,
That's a good point. That's a clever guy. I was gonna say something, but that was not it. That's like way more clever than what I was gonna say. Hit his gas.
Well, Jermaine brings up a good point. Broad daylight with all these witnesses, and so that's a good point because Alex Cox and Melanie Boudreaux allegedly told Melanie Gibb, why would we be shooting at anybody in broad daylight? And I mean, I think that's why, because people don't expect that kind of stuff. It's the element of surprise.
Or the element of not so clever criminals.
That too. Mohawk Mom comes in. Some Teslas also have a small gas tank for backup. So, see all the things I don't know about Tesla.
Yeah, I know they're fast. Like they can go 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds.
Well, that's
put you back in your seat.
Yeah, because he ended up telling the Jeep, and then he's on the phone with Brandon's on the phone with 911, and they're like, stop following him. Just kind of instinct, or I don't know, whatever he did the right things,
Yeah, and I got DK on my channel saying Moffat is a clown of a detective, and there's a reason Moffat didn't get called to the stand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that Trina did not call him. And
she was done. She's she was done, and I mean she didn't have to. You don't, just because you have them listed as witnesses doesn't mean that you have to actually use them.
Right.
They're just there if you need them, like Lori says. They're just there for if I need them. So same rule applies on the other side, cuckoo,
But what is the relevance? The relevance is they were on the state's witness list. Didn't you know that makes it relevant if they're on the state's witness list?
I mean, it's relevant, obviously. When Lori says that they're relevant people and they have relevant information, just because she says it, Judge Bresky is like, that doesn't mean that just because they were questioned by police, that doesn't make them relevant. They're just collecting evidence, right? They're collecting potential evidence. Yeah.
Right. Well, I thought his point was awesome. He's like, well, just because they went to a restaurant and a waiter served them does not make that waiter relevant. Just having interactions with a potential witness does not make that person relevant.
Yeah.
But I still don't think she got it, though. Like, here's the thing. I still don't think she understood that because of her cognitive dissonance related to her narcissism.
Amen.
Like He's telling her, just because you say somebody is relevant does not make them relevant. I don't think she's getting it. I really don't. I think she's like tuning it out. Like, I said they're relevant.
Analogy. That's a perfect analogy, Joe, because she even says at the very end of the hearing how she's like, I mean, should we be using my name? You don't use it in any other questionnaires. And he's like, it's the name of the case. Lori Daybell, Lori Vallow Daybell. And he says it's the name of the case. And she's like, but you don't do that. Nobody else, she starts doing her bitching. And then, but she thinks she's relevant. She thinks she is so hot shit. Okay. Like that, it plays right into this grandiose thing that she has for herself. Like she's the end all be all.
Right. And he said, I have literally done that for every single trial that I have held. And she didn't, I guarantee you she didn't hear that. All she heard was him saying no. All she heard was him saying no.
Yes. Why do you always tell me no? And he's like, you have no legal merit. Da, 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 da. And I was there for every bit of that. Like I might go rewatch that.
I could. Yeah.
Because it was that good. So entitled. Yeah, Trace. Definitely. Yeah, Michelle Clifford says she acts like the world owes her. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like we talk about her on our dates. We're Nancy, Joe, and Charles. And we just talk about her the entire time, Anyways, but then when somebody tells her that, someone started a blog and they write about her case every day. And she's like, me, my case every day. She acts like she's surprised about it, but then yet she's pissed off if she's not the center of it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so Lori, if you're watching this right now, you're welcome to come on here and
yeah, come on when I'm in. Yeah. Oh, look, I couldn't even say it straight. Joe, you just made me. I started my own language just now. I was like, oh my God, come on, bitch. That's what I was really trying to say, but it didn't come out that way. You're going to walk over here. You're going to limp back. That's all I'm saying.
Rack belt or no rack belt, you're going to limp back.
Call the popo, ho. Call the popo. All right, I'm done. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so... he heard a loud bang. The driver's side window shattered. He hit the gas and drove away. Boudreaux called 911, returned to his house. He put his Tesla in park. The driver's door automatically opened, and the driver's side glass window fell out of the frame and onto the driveway. Police arrived. They noticed the hole in the driver's door frame.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty bad.
And the driver's side glass laying in the driveway. Well, that's a bad shot because you're supposed to be aiming at his head. If you're aiming at his head, how do you hit the door? Like, that's a really bad shot. And didn't we see a text?
I think Melanie Boudreaux had envisioned later that the shot should have moved over 5 inches. That's according to Ian now.
Yeah, you can shoot somebody in the vital organs and it'd be a fatal shot. But if you're taking like an assassination attempt, you want to do like double tap.
Center mass.
Center body mass and then the head. Boom, boom.
Yep. And it was discussed by Lori in her last trial against Charles. She was questioning that detective and she was saying, don't you teach to shoot center mass? And he was like, not necessarily. Depends on what the class is about. But that was what Detective Coons, yeah.
Yes, yep. True that. And all right. I had a thought and it flitted away, like thoughts do from time to time. The driver's side window was in the driveway. Police took photos of the Tesla with a trajectory rod in the bullet hole. We're going to see that in the trial, I'm sure.
Well, it's not going to help with the conspiracy if Carl's there. Okay.
Right. Yes. Impound sheets showing the Tesla and driver's side window were not impounded. And that was disclosed to the defendant on December 12th, 2023. So that's like a year and a half ago that her defense team was alerted to the fact that those were not impounded and were not taken into evidence.
What was not impounded and taken into evidence?
Right, here we go. I'm going to
The
highlight
Gilbert
it right
police
here.
report and impound sheets showing that the Tesla driver's side window were not impounded. I mean, they were on the ground.
But they weren't collected as evidence.
I mean, girl, what you need? The shattered glass? What do you need? What is it, going in one of your spells or something? What is going on, girl? What you trying to do? What you trying to conjure up?
October 2019, Lori and Alex were living in Rexburg. In the days leading up to October 2nd, Lori provided her deceased husband's 2018 Jeep Wrangler to her co-conspirator, Alex Cox, to drive to Arizona to shoot Brandon Boudreaux. Wow, they're very bold in that statement. She provided the Wrangler for Alex to drive to Arizona to shoot Brandon Boudreaux. So we're going to see some text messages.
Well, I mean, think about ownership here, okay? Well, no, okay. I'm just trying to look at the actual ownership of the Jeep, but Charles was murdered, so who owns the Jeep then? Lori's married to him. Isn't that like a like in Louisiana here where I live, possession is 9/10 of the law. So if it's on your property, like the bodies were of Lori's 2 dead children were on the property of Chad's, that's like 9/10 of the law, possession. Like it's on your property. So I'm just trying to look at it like from that standpoint, but I don't know what they would have.
Right. Until the estate is settled, you don't really know who owns that Jeep, right? Kind of like
Right.
the life
I would say the
insurance
sheriff's
policy.
sale would probably own it, but they have possession of it. I mean, okay. So Detective Hermosillo is who started surveillance on the actual Jeep Wrangler, November 4th of 2019. And I want to say it was soon after repoed or towed. What do you call that? When they take possession of, I don't know the word for that. Evidence, impounded. And so then the Arizona detectives flew up in an Arizona government plane. They flew up to Rexburg and processed the Jeep. Yeah, thank you. Impounded. Why are we skimming over the fact that the state got rid of evidence? Oh, okay. Because I don't know. I'm just here. I'm a layman. And so the state is skimming over the fact that they got rid of evidence is what Ron Foth is saying.
So, okay. So it's a valid point that we shouldn't be skimming over it. And I don't, and I'm not going to. I've called out points that Lori has made that are valid legal points in the past. But is that worthy of a dismissal of the entire case? Or is it, or should we be having a hearing about dismissal of the evidence?
That makes more sense than just dismissing the whole damn case against Lori Vallow Daybell.
Right. So there should be, in my opinion, a hearing about this. If they don't want appellate issues, that just says, hey, okay, so the state can't enter that forensic evidence in. Does that kill the state's case? If they disallow that forensic evidence from the door and the window with a bullet hole in it, I would think not. That it wouldn't destroy their case.
Okay, I hope
the bullet
not.
was lodged. The bullet. Bromforth says the bullet was lodged in the door frame. I don't know that. I haven't seen that.
They never could find the actual projectiles. I mean, they were shred. It was not just one bullet casing. They could never find the casing. I want to say. And I mean, isn't that what these kind of like people like Lori Daybell look for, or loopholes in order to make themselves relevant and like they won something, like their point, like they're
Yeah,
valid
well,
in what they did.
what we saw in the first trial was she made several attempts at making good, valid legal arguments, and she could get there like 80% of the way there a couple of times, but she never could land the plane on
Okay.
getting her argument like to result in some type of a legal ruling by the judge. I mean, yes, he granted some of her objections from time to time. He overruled the state's objections from time to time, but it was like an 80-20, 90-10 type of thing. It wasn't a 50-50 because she's
Yeah.
representing herself and she doesn't know the law. She doesn't know the rules of procedure and
Judge
the rules of
Briston brought
evidence.
that up because he just brought this up recently in her last hearing too, when she said that no one, oh gosh, what was it? He said, well, no one stipulated to it. No one, asked to poll the jurors to see if they could see the RACC belt. He said, well, no one asked for a poll, basically. Meaning
Right,
her.
exactly.
She didn't ask for
Yes.
the jurors to be polled. And so I thought that was a good little dig too that kind of went unnoticed.
Yeah.
And so Heather Rose says crime scene photos are just as valid as evidence as the actual vehicle. And then Bronfoth says, I hope I'm saying that right. Whoa, that wasn't it. Judge B has given a hearing, but no one has even talked about it.
A hearing for what?
Yeah, the evidence to be dismissed, maybe. I don't know. That
We've
just
got the
kind of caught my eye.
404. We've got the 404 that was withdrawn. We've got the 609 that may still require a hearing, but Judge B said that he's going to take that on a case-by-case basis at the trial. He's not going to hold a separate hearing for that.
Yeah.
But a hearing on the evidence or a hearing on this motion to dismiss, I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So the door frame being the evidence, and who's saying that it was gotten rid of? The state?
Yeah.
Or Lori? Okay.
No.
But they have it in photos. I've seen the glass in photos.
Right. But I would argue if I were a defendant that that's not the same. Like, I want my forensics expert to examine that projectile and examine the hole in the door frame.
Well, do they make bamboo windows? Is the real question.
Brandon must have been wearing his bamboo shirt that day.
Yeah.
Deflected off.
that needs to be what do you call that? Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I suck. I'm so sorry that I suck with the words. Okay. Because they fail me all the time. Sponsor. A paid sponsor. We need a damn bamboo paid sponsor. Okay?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You hear me, bamboo people? Anyways.
Okay, people. So there's no new documents in the 2022 case. There's no new documents in the 2021 case. So we're still waiting to see her motions passed down.
Bronfoss says Judge B said that he's going to hold a motion on the fact that the evidence is no longer there. And she says, remember, this is a conspiracy charge. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So
I'm just a family member. I think that's kind of what we all just kind of do.
Okay. They're kind of laying in this response to this motion, though, they're kind of laying out their case a little bit that we're going to see a trial, I believe.
Oh.
I think Trina's like giving a little bit of a foreshadowing of what we're going to see a trial.
Lori hates getting rid of any of her trial strategy.
Yes. Yes. Even if it means not establishing relevancy of any witnesses on her defense witness list, she will not reveal her defense strategy.
Which is what? Don't get convicted?
No. Her defense strategy is, I'm so pretty, you just need to believe me. That's her defense.
There you go.
I'm pretty. I deserve for you to just take me at my word.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me of that movie, Anger Management, with I'm so pretty, oh, so pretty. Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler. Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody sing it. Everybody sing it. You're welcome.
Here's what you just said. Before Alex Cox drove to Gilbert, Arizona, he took the 2018 Jeep Wrangler to a tent shop in Rexburg to tint the windows so no one would see him in the rear of the Jeep as he lay in wait for Boudreaux to return home. Of course, that's speculation on the part of the prosecutor, but we can all make that connection as well. Well, most of us can. On October 1st, Lori Vallow rented a storage unit in Rexburg. While Alex Cox was driving the Jeep to Arizona to shoot Boudreaux, Lori Vallow stored the Jeep's spare tire and rear bench seat in her storage unit. While Alex Cox was committing this shooting in Gilbert, Arizona, Lori Vallow Daybell was in possession of her co-conspirator's cell phone in Rexburg. What? He left his cell phone behind?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Because he was communicating with Chad like some little old hens, okay? And they talked the whole time. Yep.
Wow.
And I mean,
so I can't take a road trip. I mean, I could probably find my way from Rexburg to Gilbert without my cell phone, but I would much prefer to have my cell phone in my possession with my Waze. I don't think that
he went there because he Googled the address too. He looked, I mean, I don't know if he Googled it, but he did look it up, or he looked something up. I do remember.
On October 2nd, the defendant used her co-conspirator's cell phone to call her cell phone to make it appear that her co-conspirator was in Rexburg, Idaho at the time of the shooting.
Interesting.
Wow.
That's interesting. But we know they had a slew of burner phones. This is what and I want to say it's one of the things that really takes them down, because they go out of their way to buy the track phones and stuff, and then they end up tagging their like using their Gmail, like Alex used his Gmail account to register the new said track phone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're a dumbass. It kind of lands them in hot water anyways, is what I'm saying. They get found out. The moral of the story is don't do these kind of things, because you will get got.
Don't unalive people in the name of religion.
Just get divorced and go make your own money.
Exactly. Okay? Yes. God, I just had this conversation. I just had this conversation with Salty maybe yesterday. Like, she showed me a picture of a dude here in Arizona that beat his wife to death with like a baseball bat or something. And I'm like, God. And they were in the middle of a divorce, and I'm like, just finish the divorce and walk away. It's like
the high road, man. It's what else is frowned upon other than divorce is murder. Okay, it's pretty frowned upon. And I mean, I just don't see, you're not one-upping, I mean, Lori may think she's one-upping Charles because, I mean, she went on to marry her doomsday, whatever, daddy. I don't know what to call Chatty. Besides disgusting, I just think it's so cringe, because it's so in Lori's mind, is she winning whenever she deletes an ex-husband or somebody that she obviously does still feel things about, because we saw that for ourselves during the trial whenever she got so pissy about Nancy Joe, my husband. Oh my God. It's about possession.
Absolutely. I don't want him, but you can't have him.
Yeah, I don't want them, but you can't have them either. And that's how Lori is with her kids. Like, I don't want them. I don't want you to have them either. I don't want Joe. I don't want him, but I don't want you to have him either. I don't want Charles. Same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. But I think, so I haven't read through this entire document yet. This is my first time through it. And I think we're honestly going to see this is a preview of what we're going to see in trial.
Yeah. Yeah, my thing, Bronfoth, is to take away life insurance policies, and then you take away a lot of people's motives. Okay, that's just, I know it's never going to happen, but it's just like, let's not give incentives here. You know? Yeah, it's a teeny crime in the big
Yeah,
bucket.
and Nancy Joe saying maybe you should tell her that she's not the primary beneficiary anymore.
Mhm.
Maybe he should have. And
Right.
I'm not
He
saying
sure
that
didn't
would
have
have
time to.
necessarily changed anything, but it would have changed her calculations in her head, because
Yeah.
she's calculating. She's always calculating.
Yes, she is definitely calculating. She's doing it right now.
Yep.
That's all she does. She is
So
sick of it.
law and argument is the due process clause of the 14th Amendment in Brady. So this is a Brady argument. Blah, 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 blah. The failure of the police to refrigerate the clothing and perform tests on the semen samples can at worst be described as negligent. So they're saying that if the Gilbert Police Department did not exhibit bad faith on their part, that this is an invalid argument. I don't know what else they can argue. The defendant can argue that the police were negligent in not impounding the Tesla glass, but there is no bad faith in their decision not to impound the vehicle. No amount of testing of the Tesla by an expert would provide evidence that would exonerate the defendant from the action she was taking to aid her co-conspirator from Rexburg, Idaho.
Okay. Exonerate. Those two words don't go to Lori Daybell and exonerate don't go together. There's like oil
No,
and water.
and especially her representing herself, they're never going to go together.
Right.
Like she just can't compete with this level of legal back and forth.
Truthness. Just, yeah.
The defendant has had the police reports since December 12, 2023, a year and a half ago. They failed to show any bad faith on part of the Gilbert police in their decision not to impound the Tesla or the glass window. The United States Supreme Court has held that the failure to preserve useful evidence does not violate the defendant's due process rights.
I mean, can you imagine taking his whole car away from him just to impound it just so Lori Daybell can be proven guilty in a court of law? That sounds a bit, what was the word you were using earlier, Trace?
Excessive.
Oh my gosh. Not possessive, but oh god dang. It's gonna be the death of me. Entitled.
It reminds me though of the Karen Reed case a little bit though, because did they impound her Lexus, and have they had it impounded ever since the incident?
I mean, that's a whole vehicle, you know.
Has she been making payments on it? Yeah, it was just the right rear tail light in that case. It's just the driver's side window in this case. Do you need to impound the entire vehicle? I mean, they did initially in Karen Reed's case. They took her whole vehicle, the whole Sallyport video and all that is a mess, but they had photos here. I assume the photos weren't inverted, mirrored like they were in Canton, but that's a whole nother story. The state requests this court to defy defendant's motion to dismiss. Okay. That's that. That's the two new documents, and I just checked. There are no more new documents. We don't have her motions yet at all.
Okay. And that means they're coming down the pipe.
Yes,
she's calculating as we speak.
Yes.
She's handwriting, she's underlining, and she's making capital L's and capital R's. Did you ever get that from the handwriting? We had a commenter who was talking about that, or you did, about.
Yeah, she never sent me an email. No.
Oh man, that would be so awesome.
It would.
If you're here, you know who you are. So interesting. So interesting. I think it is. I think it's very telling. Because I write like that. I write in all caps, I take a lot of notes.
I write I write whatever strikes me in the moment, and sometimes it's decent, and sometimes my handwriting
You're like, why am I
sucks.
writing this? Oh, yeah.
I couldn't keep up with the back and forth in this last motion between her and Judge Bareski, because they were literally both talking at the same time. And he raised his voice and she raised her. Well, she raised her voice first, and then he raised his voice a little bit, and then
I
he
need the
backed
front
off. But we were
cameras.
like,
I need the front
yes,
court cameras.
yes,
Okay.
yep.
I'll buy. Just I need you to fly. I'll buy them. You pick them up. I don't know where to go to get those, and so because I've looked at those damn forms, and I'm just go round and round and round with them. I'm like, I don't understand. So, so what y'all want to do now? Y'all want to talk about how there's all kinds of magic and occultic stuff in not only this case but in Mormonism period, and then you wonder how Lori and Chad could be practicing and doing and believing such crazy outlandish things, but then when you put the pen to paper, you're like, oh, okay, it's not a far reach at all. I can see how we get here time and time again. For sure.
Yeah, and you need to help us get there too, so we can get there faster. Like we're getting there. Like, what are we, like eight episodes in now? We're
Yeah.
I'm a little slow.
It is. It really is, because we have two different things going on at the same time too. So it's not like we can put all our focus into the magic, Mormonism, occultic angle. You know, so I'm having to do both. It really sucks. It's like having to compartmentalize the two different things, you know, because they're existing at the same time. But I just didn't know really how to handle it. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how it factored into this case, if it factored into this case at all, until I started examining different accounts of satanic. It's called SRA, satanic ritual abuse or ritualistic abuse. And whenever we've had a long time commenter, DJ Norman, who pointed out the fact that every one of Lori's and Chad's victims, every one of the victims had ritualistic death dates that corresponded. And I mean, it's so crazy, right? And I'm just like, I don't understand all of it, but it's just, I don't know. It's making me open my eyes. It has opened my eyes to this element that exists, but it's not considered in the legal weight of the case. Because I guess that goes into, you know, the beliefs of the crime, you know, of the victim. I'm sorry, of the perpetrators. Those beliefs, they obviously have effects, right? They affect the victim. They affect my life as a family member of the victims.
Right. And that plays a part in the rationalization of the ability to do something that 99.99% of us would not even consider doing, which is unaliving children. Like how did they get to that point? So I think that's where you're helping us get down that road of where they're eventually able to rationalize that decision.
And Beach Bum is asking Kresha and Joe, did you see the sheriff's response to Lori, to Loho?
Yep.
What was the response? I think I might have
Did we not talk about that? I know I have that document. That was basically the fact that it was about her RACC belt. That yes, her RACC belt doesn't fit, or is one size fits all type of thing. So it's meant to fit large dudes and small women. So it's got to be wrapped around her twice. Did we not talk about that? I thought we talked about that.
I don't know. Could we have talked about it? Oh, we might have talked about it, and I don't know. We could talk about it again. I think everybody is just ready, like fit to be tied right now, you know, with just what I guess watching her finally move out of our line of sight, you know, like to finally be irrelevant like she is.
Yeah.
Actually, and I think we're all just giddy about it. We're here. I mean, it's been a long time, a long process. It's been a long journey. And, one thing I did learn from KJ is justice through understanding, because justice looks different to everybody. It really does. Have you ever considered what justice looks like to you? In the form of this case, like through the eyes or lens of this case, or to each case that you do talk about, like it's different. And that's been pretty interesting to learn on my own. So it's like, I might get to a point where all the things that I've learned about Chad, Lori, and friends is one thing, and the legal system is another. And then in the course of Mormonism and how that has impacted, I mean, it's just different lenses, so it's different for everybody. What does justice look like in that sense? So justice through understanding has been key in all this. Oh, thank you, Robbie. Okay, I'll check my email. I will do that. Not right now, but I will. Yeah, I know. I hope she can't do too much damage from prison, but she is charismatic and able to influence people, and not everyone is in prison for life. That's my deepest fear. Absolutely. I think that's a very relevant fear. And probability, I mean, she says she's doing all this for the advocacy of her fellow inmates, but is she? And I mean, is she really, or is she doing this thinking that she's doing that? I don't really know. She's pretty disgusting. She's pretty full.
Well, you have to question her motives, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just interesting how her mission changed. Her mission changed from being part of the 144,000 and a translated being who was going to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ and live in the New Jerusalem. I mean, just from that to pivot to, oh shit, I'm in jail because of all the things that I did and believed. And it's not that I'm wrong. It's just that this is where God put me. And so her mission has changed. And so it's now to advocate for prison reform and interesting things, It's just like she killed her family for this. She killed Tammy Daybell for this. She conspired and calculated and all those things, to do what? Change her mission state stuff. What is she doing? Yeah.
All right, we can take a look at that real quick because people are asking about it. Let me get over there to StreamYard, present PDF.
Cool, Robbie. That sounds really cool. I'm gonna look into that. Sounds interesting. You have good thinking. Okay.
All right. So this is the response. This is the official court response. Non-party Maricopa County Sheriff Jerry Sheridan's response in opposition to defendant's motion for no restraints in trial.
Can you imagine her with no restraints? What is she plotting? Is what I want to know.
Okay, but where is she going? Like, if she has no restraints and she's like, "Oh shit, I'm just gonna make a run for it."
She's gonna jump over the whole damn thing. She's gonna jump over and she's gonna just start strangling somebody. Is what I picture her doing.
Maybe your mom. Maybe Brandon.
I mean, she had her chance.
She did.
I heard she was shaking.
Mom was ready to go. Mom was like, I was waiting on the announcer to say, "Are you ready to rumble?"
Let's get ready to rumble.
Mom is sitting there like being sworn in, and instead of saying yes, she says amen.
That was awesome.
I thought that was so damn funny. I'm like, and I forgot to bring it up whenever I interviewed my mom after that. And I'm like, oh no, that's what nobody knew. I didn't know about it either until Mom told me. So Mom's swearing in. She's getting ready to go face the damn woman who has killed her grandson, killed her niece, and killed her brother. Okay. And caused all this unnecessary pain and loss of life, you know. And so she's finally gonna see the woman for the first time in 6 years who has done all this. Okay. And that's Lori, and that's Kay. And so mom's swearing in, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. She says, amen. She, you know, I'm just like, that is hilarious, Mom. It really is. And I wish we could hear it.
That's classic Louisiana for you.
It's like classic, like, hold my earrings. I'm about to go face her. Move. These are just motions that I'm having to go through between here and there, you know, but can you imagine? Right.
All right. So this is the county sheriff's response in opposition to no restraints. Hereby responds in opposition to defendant's motion for no restraints. Sheriff Sheridan is charged with determining whether restraints are appropriate in the courtroom as a safety and security concern. As such, Sheriff Sheridan's recommendations as to the use of restraints during defendant's trial should remain undisturbed, and defendant's motion should be denied. Although a defendant has the right to be free from restraints in the courtroom, concerns for courtroom safety and security may make the use of restraints appropriate.
Yeah, just because they can be free doesn't mean they should be free. And
Right.
I second that. Just because you can represent yourself doesn't mean you should. Just because a woman can wear spandex doesn't mean that you should. Okay? Because you can't never get out of them once you do. Take it from me. Just because you can sing doesn't mean that you should go and sign up and you know, go on a This Is the Voice or anything. You like, just because you can doesn't mean you should do anything. Just saying. That's the moral of the story here.
Okay. Deep breath.
Spandex. We'll say it like Melanie Gibbs says it. She calls it spandex. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Courts evaluate the need for restraints on a case-by-case basis, reflecting the particular concerns related to the defendant, including special security needs or the risk of escape. Honestly, on the 5th floor of the Maricopa County Superior Court, South Tower, there is no risk of escape. There is zero.
Unless it's out of a window, and I mean, I'd be game for that.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
Watch her take her chances.
Yep.
That sounds evil on my part, but I mean, just I'm just speaking out loud. I probably shouldn't.
Because Arizona law does not delineate the factors of a trial court may consider to evaluate particular concerns justifying restraints at trial. Sheriff Skinner provides 2 non-binding out-of-jurisdiction cases, blah, 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 blah. More blah, 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 blah. Defendant has requested for the second time to remain restraint-free during her trial. In response to her initial request, Sheriff Sheridan recommended a minimum level of restraint, the use of a RACC belt. Typically, inmates attend trial wearing leg braces and the RACC belt, but the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office determined that the use of a RACC belt without the leg braces would suffice. Okay. Defendant now complains that she believes the RACC belt can be seen even when worn under her clothes, and defendant offers nothing more than her own assertions about the belt. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has reviewed the defendant's allegations and stands by its recommendation that the RACC belt remain in use. It does not recommend that the defendant remain completely unrestrained during her trial. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office notes that the office has used the RACC belt for over 2 decades. All right, that's not a valid legal reason, people. I don't care how long you've been using something, it can be inappropriate, but I'm not saying this is inappropriate in her case. I'm just saying that's not a valid legal argument, but whatever. Has never been provided with evidence that it can be viewed by a juror. In other words, was the jury ever polled to see if that view of the RACC belt influenced their opinion? No, nobody requested the jury be polled. Oh, whose responsibility was that?
Her.
Lawyer Lori. Yeah.
Yep. I loved it too. I really enjoyed it. Just truth. It's truth. And it's her own truth.
Yes, it is. And it's her own reality now.
Yes. And so she put herself exactly where the hell she is. So
no difficulties in placing the belt on the defendant have been observed by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. In fact, they note personal observations of the belt being placed on the defendant and that the process took less than 2 minutes. There is no constitutional violation in placing defendant in the RACC belt, and the RACC and the defendant's request should be denied. Defendant also requests, as an alternative to the belt, that an additional armed deputy be posted to the courtroom during trial. This creates significant staffing concerns. They currently operate at less than 50% staffing. What? That's crazy. Maricopa County, what are you doing?
look, I have the video pulled up. It's about it's 12 News sees how Lori Vallow Daybell is being restrained in court. It's a little 2.5 minute segment. Can I play it?
Absolutely, because I could use a little 2-minute break.
Okay. Sounds great. Right on top of that, Rose. No, I'm all right. And I'm in my computer. I'm on my computer in my room, so I'm sorry if it's crazy, but it's a little slow in here.
Hold on.
Vallow Daybell, a convicted murderer, isn't wearing handcuffs in the courtroom.
But she is wearing a hidden restraint underneath the clothing, and it packs a punch. I got an up-close look at it today. All right, I'm going to try this.
All right.
You ready?
You ready?
Yep. So what exactly am I doing here? You may wonder how convicted murderer Lori Vallow Daybell is able to walk around inside a courtroom unrestrained. And the answer is this: stun technology hidden under her clothes. It looks like a bulletproof vest, but it's not.
It's not. It actually has 4 points of contact. It's pretty much at the top and in the back.
Let's talk specifically about Lori Vallow Daybell. So she's wearing something like this. What is this?
That's correct. So this is what we call, many people know it as a RACC belt, a stun, very clear compliance. So what happens is you have the prongs just like you did in the vest. Okay. So this makes contact with your body. You can feel it right there, right? So and in this case, what we do is we put it around the waist. So pretty much like this.
And this is just designed to give you a lot of pain, correct?
This is pain compliance. Like I said, unlike a taser, it doesn't affect the muscles.
The sheriff's office asked me if I wanted to know what the belt felt like. An actual stun would last 8 seconds, so I didn't put the belt all the way around me and fasten it. Still. Ah, jeez, Louise. Woo! I get it.
Yeah. Wasn't that bad? It was terrible.
I just want to see it.
Can you imagine 8 seconds?
No. Yeah, I can't imagine 8 seconds of that. Like I said, I had that for just a second or even less, and it still hurts. That was like 4 hours ago for sure. So an attention officer in the courtroom has a remote for that device that works 500 feet away. So they remotely set off that belt
Hear that, Lori?
more than a football field away. So she's wearing that every day in the courtroom.
Yeah, so she's not going anywhere if she tried to. Yeah. No. All right, that's interesting. How are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm fine.
You're fine.
It's okay. Yeah, it took one for the team for sure. I want to thank Joaquin Enrique, the sergeant out there who helped me out with that. He actually took it today too. So
all right.
Yeah,
I just want to see Lori take it. That's all. Just one time. Just if we could just get that out the way in the beginning, and then I would be kind of over it, But in the meantime, I just want her to just piss whomever's holding the damn button off.
Right. Yeah. On my last live, they started a bail fund for me to go like jump over the wall and tackle her, and then.
That's exactly what plays through my mind. If I go show up there, I can just. If anybody's ever seen Medea movies, where Medea. It just jumps over the whole gallery basically, and just different videos from around the web of family members who their killers are in the courtroom, and you just out of nowhere, the calm dad just bolts for, the person who murdered somebody they love, and so that started playing through my mind, and I was like, man, I never had these kind of thoughts before, so I just probably shouldn't be there. So, because I know me, right?
Yeah.
You know you, and so we
Right.
know ourselves the best, and I'm not very confident. Yeah.
All right. So 50% staffing capacity and additional deputy in the courtroom exacerbates their staffing capacity issues. Where there is no basis to require an additional deputy in the courtroom because a RACC belt is valid and justified restraint. That presents an additional hardship on the sheriff's office. The recommended restraints are not a constitutional violation. Minimum restraint. Yeah, because she's not even doing the RACC belt and the leg iron. She's just doing the RACC belt.
Yeah.
All right. Yep, that's it. Oh, wait. Yes, here's it. So this is what a lot of people were looking at. This is the actual letter from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Here. Yeah. After reviewing the motion, the following response, I request the RACC belt remain in play. That's an interesting legal way to phrase that. While the RACC belt is likely uncomfortable, it does not violate due process or prevent a fair trial. The defendant Daybell is correct that the RACC belts are universal and designed to fit a wide range of defendants. However, the excess slack from a smaller size defendant does not stick out in any noticeable way and is tucked inside the belt line to hide it.
I did notice that that's the reason she was leaning. When she goes up to the podium to talk, I was like, why is she doing that? Why is she leaning like that? And so she's trying to hide it from the jury, which she should, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, to me, that I was like, oh, okay. It took me a little bit to even realize that. And that's looking at her from behind.
Right.
The only view we have, which is unfortunate. Unless Joe will find out how to get those front court cams, we'll have those, okay? But working on that. So,
well, if juror number 15 Carl comes back, maybe I can plant one with him because he seems to maybe not follow the rules all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tell me not to do something, and that's when I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna see how to do it, and I'm gonna be good at it. Yeah. That's a lot of people.
Daybell claims there have been issues with trying to fit the belt on her. I personally observed the belt being put on her once during her last trial. Okay, one time out of 11 doesn't convince me one way or the other. And watched as the female detention officer secured the belt to her waist in under 2 minutes. It was my observation the detention officer had no difficulty. Staffing concerns. Armed deputy posted, one less deputy available to respond to other calls.
Yeah, because they have a job to do. It's not just Lori.
Yes. While MCSO staffing is not the defendant's problem, why would you bring that out? Why would you state that in your letter? Just ignore that. While the staffing is not the defendant's problem, it is nonetheless an issue of concern for the sheriff's office and overall security within the court complexes.
Because she is a freaking multiple convicted murderer. Damn it.
Right.
She is a danger to society.
Yes. In multiple ways.
Mm-hmm. What'd you see?
Oh my gosh. Where's Pam's comment? So,
I just was reading it.
there are remote control like finders that will cycle through multiple frequencies at the
Yes.
same time. Like
That's
they'll
why I was
just
like,
go,
oh shit, I see a plan being hatched right now. I'm part of the conspiracy, damn it.
We're going to cycle through a whole bunch of frequencies here, and we're going to see if we can just land on one. We only need to hit one.
Yeah, there's more than one way to skin a wabbit, they say.
Wascally wabbit.
Mm-hmm. See how we all think? So it's not, I didn't even come up with that. Y'all did.
No, Pammy did. It's Pammy's fault.
It's Pammy's fault.
She's got to come up with my bail money. I wonder what wavelength those operate on, because I have programmable radios too. So
well,
like if I find
time to find out. Just curious. Mythbusters. You're a mythbuster is what you are. I want to know who's done the studies on whether translated beings die or not. Okay. I just want to know. There's no studies out there that I found.
Well, they can endure electric shock for at least 8 seconds.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Oh, and I think that goes par for the course, with how Alex Cox handled Joe Ryan with a stun gun and doing it at a kid exchange of all places.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That would be some form of karma. That would be.
It's all over in this case, okay? It's all over. You just got to take a minute to think about it. It's crazy.
All right. This is the time to meet with the legal team. This is the motion that the judge listened to the sheriff's response and then agreed to grant this motion to Lori to meet with her legal team during breaks. And immediately 15 minutes later, she said, "You never grant any of my motions, ever." She requests additional time to meet with her legal team. I've met with Court Operations Command, and we have agreed that Daybell can choose to remain in the courtroom with her legal team rather than return to wait in her holding cell. And for lunch breaks and other times of recess, if she chooses to meet with her legal team, they will transport her to level 4 of the South Court Tower. There we have built-in visitation area normally used for EDC courts with secured legal visitation rooms. We will provide her with a sack lunch, and she can spend the entire lunch break conferring with her legal team in this room, which means they don't get an actual lunch break, and they may have to eat brown paper bag bologna sandwiches too.
Poor baby. She don't have to eat anyways, but poor baby. Remember when her last interview, she said she had been sleeping? I'm like, translated beings don't sleep. They don't need sleep.
Right.
But she does. She should have been working on all these damn motions. Is what she should have been doing, her and her team. Yeah. Thank you, Joe, for educating us. For sure.
I'm just waiting for her actual motions to come down. I mean,
waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yep.
Yeah. I was just thinking of something, but then, I mean, if she doesn't go back to her cell, then, I mean, who's going to give her, because I had heard this, and I don't know where I heard it from, but during the last trial, that her pod mates were like hooping and hollering and just being like, "You go, girl, you got this." And I forget where I heard that from. And that just let all the wind out of my sails. That was depressing to hear other fellow inmates cheering her on. Like she's got some kind of fan club or something. It's disgusting.
Yeah. But that's at the Maricopa County Sheriff's Jail. That's in Australia. And she's supposed to be in isolation, so it's just like people, like other inmates that are. Yes, exactly. Yep. Yep. That's.
But I mean, that just says a lot about them, in my opinion. Really, then it's gross. It's so inverted. It's like, do you realize that she murdered her daughter, her son, her new husband's wife, and her husband, and probably her ex-husband? You know, like, do you realize the life that this woman has taken, robbed, stolen? She's not cute. She's
Well,
not nice.
if you're getting applauded by inmates in a maximum security county jail that are probably also in isolation, then I mean, what does that say about her? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I was reading Michelle Clifford's comment at the same time, and I'm laughing my ass off. Sorry. Thinking, yeah, that's one way to do it, you know? That's one way to do it. So you go, girl. You go, girl. I get it.
Be sure to puff and pass.
Yeah. Puff, pass. Yes. Allegedly. So I've heard. I don't know. I really don't.
I don't know. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
What are you even talking about? So yeah, if we get caught, I'm deaf and you don't speak any English is what that is.
No hablo inglés.
Mm-hmm. So anyways,
all right. Do you want to try and dig into the other stuff that you had pulled out?
I mean, I also have this too. And I mean, since we're already, I didn't title my side of the live stream though about Bishop Pace. I of course was having all my problems with my speakers and audio issues. But I mean, this is still along with Brandon Boudreaux. So Lori Vallow Daybell conspiracy to murder Brandon Boudreaux. Lori Vallow Daybell, often referred to as the Doomsday Mom, has been convicted for the deaths of her 2 children in Idaho and for the murder of Charles Vallow. And I mean, of course, you got to throw Tammy in there too, right? Okay. She now faces further charges in Arizona. Prosecutors claim that in October of 2019, Vallow conspired with her brother Alex Cox to kill Brandon Boudreaux, the now former husband of her niece, Melanie Boudreaux-Pawlowski. Boudreaux narrowly escaped a drive-by shooting outside his home in Gilbert, Arizona. And it goes on to say, investigators assert that Alex Cox discharged the firearm in an attempt to hit Boudreaux, while Lori Vallow was instrumental in orchestrating the attempted murder. Prosecutors have highlighted digital evidence such as Cox's cell phone records, which indicate his proximity to Boudreaux's residence when the shooting occurred. Additionally, Lori's suspicious internet searches after the event further implicate her in the scheme. And so it says what happened. Brandon Boudreaux had just moved into his new home at 1111 East Phelps the previous Wednesday, following his separation from his soon-to-be ex-wife, Melanie Boudreaux. They shared 4 children. Brandon explained the divorce stemmed from Melanie's beliefs. From Melanie's. That doesn't make sense. The divorce stemmed from Melanie's beliefs, ongoing issues with her family, and concerns tied to a recent homicide in Chandler. Again, y'all go watch Megan's latest video expose. I'll call it expose because it was freaking awesome. Because it'll explain the mindset of the Cox family, and I'm calling them the Cox crime family. Okay, because hello, hopefully you never have to find out the way that our family has, but holy shit. And it says, that morning, Brandon had taken his 4 children out, dropping the older 2 at school, the third at a day camp, and the youngest at a business daycare, which is not true, which the youngest was taken to Melanie Boudreaux. Okay, so when Melanie was served with papers by the grand jury in Idaho, her and Ian were served. There's a park that is actually on body cam footage across from Melanie Boudreaux's house. It's the same house that Brandon would go and drop, the youngest one off. And there's a park there. And so when you go and look at that footage of Ian and Melanie being served grand jury, summons or whatever, you can see the part because Melanie is walking her dog. It's a big old dog, or it's kind of just dragging her around the damn park. But it's the same. You can kind of get an understanding for what it looked like, I guess, for Brandon that morning to drop his little girl or the youngest off with Melanie. And a lot of people think there's a second shooter, but I mean, I'm not saying that Melanie Boudreaux is above taking her daughter on an assassination attempt. Okay. But I am saying that there was nowhere for a back seat. The back seat was not in there. There's, what's she going to do? Put her in a car seat and just sit there? She's pretty loud. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever watched any of the video of Detective Coons trying to talk to Melanie Boudreaux the next day, October 3rd, 2019. She had her daughter with her. She's pretty loud. Okay. I'm just saying. I don't know if people are factoring these things in to the equation. I don't think there is a second shooter or a second person. I think it's just one person who has the seat leaned back from the front seat, and he's been into position. He's got the upper hand because he's got the element of surprise. Brandon doesn't know it's coming. He takes the shot. He misses. Adrenaline is, of course, kicked in. And I think that's it. I just don't know that that would kind of be the point of having Alex go take care of it so that Melanie wouldn't be involved. Right. That's just kind of the way I'm looking at it. But I mean, I could be wrong.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing they did with their coded language was trying to distance themselves and have some type of plausible deniability from guilt or association.
Right. Do I think that she's above it? No, I don't. I think she's just as guilty as her Aunt Lori there. And I mean, I've even heard, so I don't know how to prove this or if you even can, but I've heard along the way that Melanie Boudreaux is actually more deceptive and more manipulative than Lori. And so if you can even fathom that, that's pretty alarming.
So what did you think about her? What did you think about Melanie's testimony and Chad's trial?
I think it was basic. She didn't add anything to the conversation besides just confirming. I really don't think that Melanie Boudreaux knows what a freaking pendulum looks like. Okay. Because she was like, if you go back and listen to her testimony about the pendulum that Lindsay Blake was questioning her about, she's like, yeah, just her answer is just not very, she never lands on anything. She's very sticky, I'll just say very slippery with her word salad. She never locks into anything. And that's part of her manipulation, I believe, is that slippery language. Yeah, I think she's another narcissist that was made. Yep. I didn't realize the Jeep was parked. So it makes sense. One shooter. Yeah. I mean, he was the quote unquote protector, AKA family. Like he was the guy who always had a gun. Right. And so it was just assumed, I mean, if it wasn't talked about, like in Charles's, the conspiracy to commit murder against my uncle, then Lori just assumed that her brother was a gun guy. Right. And I mean, so I don't know what they talked about. I wasn't there, but it makes you wonder. I mean, I wish I could be a fly on the wall. And the Jeep was also running. Yeah. I remember. And so you were talking earlier, Joe, about how the Gilbert Police Department, they really did do a fantastic job at canvassing the neighborhood where Brandon was shot at. And they have this documented in the Gilbert Police documents in the FOIA request that we got back. It's a 304-page investigation report. And they canvassed the hell out of that neighborhood. Whereas in Lori's with Charles, the cops like, go on back over there, go get a skedaddle. Not wanting to hear from anyone in the neighborhood, So that's one.
Yeah, and that's so weird because somebody had to have heard two gunshots. one of the neighbors or two of the neighbors or 10 of the neighbors had to have heard 10 gunshots. Like, I'm sorry, you
there are a
don't not hear
couple
those.
people, a couple civilians are the actual neighborhood, the neighbors in the state's witness list. A couple of the civilians are.
But they were never called?
Well, no, I mean, that's upcoming. It hasn't happened yet.
Oh, no. I mean in Charles. I mean in your uncle's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was talking about. Okay. No, there weren't. I didn't see any report.
You're talking about Gilbert canvassing the neighborhood, Chandler PD not canvassing the neighborhood. Like one or more of those neighbors had to either have Ring doorbell cams or heard gunshots. Like, there had to have been.
Yeah, because we even from Charles, from that conspiracy, that trial, we had, the pool party accusations, okay? And not just from the neighbor next door, the teen girl that knew Tylee, that was like, oh my God, what are they doing next door? The day that Charles was murdered. So it wasn't just, she definitely wasn't even questioned by the police. We just have that because a YouTuber went by and she happened to want to talk. So that's how we know that. And then again, I mean, doesn't a lot of kids in a pool, wouldn't that kind of constitute as a pool party? I mean, if you think about it, if there's JJ, he's loud as all get out. And I mean, just a bunch of kids, I don't know.
Well, and are you not canvassing for Ring doorbell cams? Like, that's a decent neighborhood. Like, that is a decent neighborhood. Somebody's got to have a Ring doorbell cam somewhere.
It's extensive, the amount of knock-knocks they did, immediately following that shot taken in.
Gilbert or Chandler? Which one are we talking
about?
Gilbert. Okay. I'm talking about Chandler. I'm saying they didn't canvass
and Chandler did not. No, that's the difference. That's one of the differences, I'll say. Gilbert, when you're talking about Gilbert Police Department in the sense of what they did in the investigation for Brandon, they did top notch. When you're talking about Gilbert Police Department in the sense that Charles was asking and begging for help for his wife with her obvious mental issues, they not only taught her how to evade being served and having to be held accountable and to go and to community bridges and be checked out. They taught her how not to. They taught her how to evade that, how to evade their own orders. Okay. They taught her how to get away with that. And so where they're doing really great work over here in this investigation, in this particular trial for Brandon, they really failed the whole lot of the victims, Brandon included, if you think about it, because this happened before anything. Charles contacted the Gilbert Police Department because that was, they share jurisdictional lines with Chandler. So it was a lot of crisscross. So they failed my Uncle Charles, Gilbert, and then a lot of people say Chandler too, but I mean, Chandler was mainly just the investigative part of that. Gilbert ultimately let down all of the victims, even though they really ramped it up in their investigation into Brandon's attempt, the attempt at Brandon's life. It's very confusing, or I may be confusing it a great deal for people. So it's like they're in both trials, I guess you could say, both investigations into Brandon and into Charles. However, Gilbert really let Charles down ultimately, and then ultimately let all the victims down, including Brandon. But then yet they also play a big part in Brandon's trial and did, I think, a better job investigating the attempt at Brandon versus how Chandler handled the murder of my uncle. I don't know if I'm making that any more confusing or not, but it's
no, they're so
I don't think they're exalted. And so I think that's okay.
Yes, right. Yes, they did. So they're human beings too, and they make mistakes. But when you make mistakes that are critical to somebody's life and death, and you don't even know you're making it, then it just after the fact it just seems so much worse. So I've got video like ready to go for Charles's interaction with Gilbert PD at the hotel. Remember that?
Yeah.
I can show that. I can show her interview at the Gilbert PD.
The one at Gilbert PD was telling, and that's the one she was worried about too in the last trial. She's not worried about that now, but she definitely, that's before though, when I was like, okay, how is Trina going to sit here and maneuver around her mental health and all the things that none of this was ever touched on. So none of this was even accessed. You know, I thought it was pretty brilliant actually after the fact, but before I was like, I couldn't wrap my mind around how Trina was going to maneuver around all this shit.
Yeah. And in the end, I don't think she had to, but is she going to have to for the next one? I don't think so either. This doesn't have anything to do with Brandon's. No. Do you want to watch this though?
Yeah. Cause it does show how Gilbert police officers tell Lori to evade being responsible, basically.
Yeah. And there's going to be some parts of this at the beginning, especially that are blurred because Tylee is in the police station with her mom. So they have to blur parts of it.
And yeah, you can see how Tylee is like an adult versus her mom feeling like Tylee needs to be her protector. It's so gross. Yeah, there was zero thought of self-defense when it came to Brandon's shooting. Yep.
Hello.
And just listen how Melanie Gibb talks too.
This makes my hips rather wide. Okay. Yeah.
It's just good to have it on record. So.
Yeah. Okay. I got a little bit of info from dispatch. Said he stole your phone.
This guy was new.
What happened first? Why don't you tell us what happened?
So yesterday, I got an argument with my husband on the phone, and he was in Texas working, and I found some stuff that he'd been doing, so he was really defensive. And so I took the kids. We spent the night in a hotel because I knew he was coming home. And so this morning, when I took my son to school, which he when I went into the school to take him into school, he was waiting somewhere and like stole my purse out of the car, my whole purse. So my phone, my wallet, my money, my everything was in there. So I had the door locked, but the sunroof was open because we have a service dog and he was in the car, and I didn't want to, my son was kind of throwing a fit. I didn't want to get them both out of the car because it was a mess this morning. And we didn't have any of our stuff because this was the night in the hotel and he was out of his element. So I didn't lock the door for like the first time ever, and he like, whatever, either got it out. I don't remember if the door was locked. He got it out, or he reached through the sunroof.
Or if he was like 7 feet tall and reached into the sunroof, because that's how tall Charles was. So she probably didn't lock the door, or he had a spare set of keys. I'm just saying. She's so stupid.
She's got a story though. I mean, like if I'm a police officer listening to her, I'm like, she's telling me a story, and I'm pretty sure that maybe 75-80% of the story might be true, but maybe 20-30% of it might not be true.
Yep. And yeah, she also has her troops rallied up. She's got Melanie Gibb there to back her up.
My friend lured over to the house to meet
Lord.
the door to get into the house and stuff. So
you did that this morning.
Last night.
Okay.
Which I'm glad we went there.
Right. Okay.
That's when I got there. I'm like, Lori? Where's Lori?
But he texted her from my phone because he was.
He said, "Can you come to the house now?"
And then when you got.
Sure. Yeah. I did.
Okay.
Yeah, proceeded to act like he was himself.
He has the text messages on the phone.
Talk up, lady.
I said, "You've been using Lori's phone to connect with me." He goes, "Sorry, I deceived you." I said, "Oh, okay, yeah, you did." And luckily, there were some other people there that were.
He was changing the locks.
The locksmith.
Were there where he kicked it in. So
the locksmiths were there, so
they were
there, but there was a white Suburban.
So she blames him, saying that he hired a locksmith to lock her out the house, when in all actuality, he hired a locksmith because she had locked him out the house. So he had to hire another locksmith in order to fix the door that they had to bust in the night before because of her bullshit.
Right.
It's really gross.
Is this the same incident where she took his truck from the airport? Or is that a different one?
No, this is it.
And
all in that cluster of time. Yes, it's boom, boom, boom.
When did she take money, like thousands of dollars out of his bank account? Was this the same
before
time
that?
period?
Prior, right around the same time period, $35,000. Yeah.
I suspect it would be her. I should have noticed that your car wasn't there, but I didn't notice that.
Okay, what kind of car do you drive?
An Infiniti QX80 black.
I've got the volume up as loud as it'll go.
So you got to the house, and then you got there. He said, "Yeah, I deceived you," and then what was he calling you?
That sounds like a dork. I deceived you. My uncle wasn't a dork.
Oh, okay. What did he ask you?
He was asking like, what's got into her, like.
Where is she?
Where is she? Of course, I didn't say where she. I didn't know where she was. She didn't actually.
I didn't tell anybody.
She didn't
tell
tell
her out because I just thought it was safer for everybody.
Yeah, he just basically wanted me to take his side, I think, and just say.
Told her how crazy I was and stuff like that.
She's got a big thing against people calling her crazy.
Your last name?
Gibb.
Okay, just because for documentation later. What's your date of birth?
So easy.
So okay, so he had you come there. I was asking you questions. So, like, is this something that's happened before, or is this like?
Unfortunately, yeah, we've had to even go to hotels just to like calm us down or something,
What is it like that motivates him doing this kind of stuff? Is it? Does he say one?
Her abuse.
This time I caught him cheating and I had evidence and I told him about it and he travels a lot.
Whoa, what?
What'd you say?
I caught him cheating and I had evidence of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing that the first time around.
Yeah, that's what she claims. Summer claims that she saw proof, and I think that's the Lonnie Dworkin angle. I don't know if Lori's still trying to prove that she had proof of Charles cheating, or
was it just the Nancy Joe, and he also had dates set up with other women too.
I know. So I don't know what the big deal is.
But I had proof of him cheating. Is projection. I got to play that part again. I got to play that part again.
Motivates him doing this kind of stuff? Is it? Does he say one? Just goes nuts.
This time I caught him cheating and I had evidence and I told him about it. And he travels a lot for business. So.
Why didn't we see that in court, Lori? Why didn't we see that in court?
His stuff would be gone and that his car would be gone. And so he's a little mad.
She's just trying to protect herself. Yeah.
But I just left with the kids because I didn't want them in all the drama.
Yeah. That's why she left, not because she was being a domestic terrorist.
He's trying to contact me through her. He has my phone. I don't have a way to be contacted.
Yeah, and I didn't know what her. I couldn't contact her.
Nobody could contact me. I just went and bought a phone so I could have a phone. Little throwaway phone. So
have you called him to ask him if he'd bring your stuff back?
Well, he talked to her about it. So.
And what was?
Yeah, I said, would you be willing to give me the purse for Lori? You know, and he goes, no, unless she does this, all these.
Don't speak in generalities. I want specifics. What did he say?
At therapy today.
So he wanted
to meet him at therapy. But he wasn't going to give you the purse. He just is saying he'd give it to me if I meet him there.
Okay.
Right.
I don't really want to talk to him today if I don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we have him bring the purse back, are we all good? Like, I mean, you're not willing to meet with him with a therapist or anything to try to get it back?
I don't want to because I don't know. He's very sneaky. So like what he'll do is meet me in the parking lot and mess around with me, whatever. Like he's not going to just.
What if we
she's
call
sneaky.
him
She meets him in
see
the
if
parking
he'll
lot.
come
What she's
here
saying.
We can facilitate
Huh. Oh, I was like, what the hell happened? You got push play, Joe. Or we can't hear you if you are talking.
Oh.
Okay.
I
There you
muted
are.
myself.
I was like on a whole other screen. I was like, okay, it must be redacted.
I did a whole 15-second soliloquy and y'all missed it. It was like genius. It was the best soliloquy ever.
Oh, it always is.
He said the smartest thing he said in this conversation, like about 15 seconds ago.
Don't speak in generalities.
Yes, don't speak in generalities. I need specifics. But then after that, she continually just like shifts the blame to Charles and shifts it and shifts it and shifts it. And it's all his fault.
Yeah, I actually pulled up a clip too. It's called Lying for the Lord. And it's about how it's from the Ex-Mormon Foundation. And it's about how Joseph Smith would lie to justify polygamy. And if anybody came out against Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon Church, then he would character assassinate. Okay, I just believe, in my opinion, in my heart of hearts, I believe that this faith particularly breeds this brand of narcissism. That's what I'm saying. So it's interesting because of the character assassination. He can never be in the wrong, or Mormon or like Lori can never be in the wrong. Barry can never be in the wrong because it must be something wrong with you because they're the know all be all, you know? Anyways, it's pretty interesting.
All right. This is only a few minutes long. Oh, yeah. The actual interview is only a few minutes long. I think they get a few minutes into it and then it's just a bunch of empty pudding. So we can go to that next.
Yeah. Yeah, Mohawk Mom.
Obviously, he's texting her.
Texting all my and all my family and the kids too.
Yeah. So we know it was him that took the purge because he.
What's
how
he
would you know
texting
that?
you?
I have the text. He was basically just texting me.
See, she has proof.
Acting like that my son was in danger. I was worried about JJ's safety and things, and texting her like he's gonna. So he at first texted me, "You doing okay today? Hey girl, are you? Please, your mom. I may not be home for a bit. Love you." Sent me a strange link to a website about our church. That people. Yeah. Said this is what's happening, and then he texted me at almost midnight. I'm so sorry, but I have no choice. I'm just sick. Danger. I had no choice.
Yep.
Which he didn't file a police report or anything as far as we know. So I'm just assuming he was trying to get a response. And then I love you. He was
Police report about what?
Or I don't know, but he was acting like he did something.
And then those text messages came from. Do you have it entered as mom's phone or?
No, that was from him.
That's before
he didn't take the course until 8:30.
Yeah,
This was last night at school.
Okay.
You know, I've been put in the same predicament
the same text
type stuff
like
growing up.
What's his name?
Charles.
What's his phone?
Yeah, I've been put in the same position as Tylee in different, times of my life, young times. And I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade on my mom or my dad or anything, but I mean, I recognize it. Okay. I recognize it. And I know that I was the mediator basically between my mom and my dad whenever they were going through their divorce and fighting custody over Todd, my little brother. And it's such a effed up position to be put into as a child. I was 11 or 12 and it scarred me. And I didn't realize this till watching all of this body cam footage of Tylee being put in the same predicament, having to be a parent or a parental, I guess, figure, where I'm looked at as the protector of my mother versus my mother protecting me or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So I recognize myself in Tylee in this. And so I see a few of you here also. So this happens a lot more than we know. I really do think so. And it gives me freaking chill bumps right now because no child should ever have to be put in any kind of predicament like this. She shouldn't even be in that room. Okay, this should just be grown-up stuff. Just like with Lori and Detective Yanklin, how Detective Yanklin was trying to separate Lori from Tylee so that she could tell her that her husband was dead on the floor in the house. Okay, but Lori didn't see that as a trying to protect her own child from the information, and so she could lessen that blow any for Tylee. And so it's just wrong is what it is.
Yeah. And it is wrong to put children in that position, no matter what their age is, whether it's 11 or 12 or 15 or 16. I mean,
and it felt like a familiar role for Tylee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Tylee Ryan. So Joe Ryan was her biological dad.
Yep.
And then
Charles came in. She was 3 when I met her. So she was 3 years old when they got married. Wow. It's all Tylee knew. Yeah. It's like kind of like my stepdad. Like my stepdad, I looked at him as my real dad, not Larry. Okay. I've got a few stepdads. Okay. But my mom dated Todd's dad way before Todd was even thought of, when I was 18 months old. And then they got married when I was 4 and kind of changed my last name just like they did with Colby. Okay. Not legally. It wasn't, well, I mean, it was, I don't know. Depends on what you call legal. Okay. Because on my birth certificate, a line was drawn through with a pen through the last name Easton. One line drawn through it. And it was the, what do you call those people you go to? Oh my God, Robbie, you're one. You handle documents and, oh my God, come on. It's like you do legal documents and they're there with their little stamp, their seal of approval.
Oh, a notary?
Yes, thank you. All right. A notary public, yes. So what they did was they drew a line through my Easton, my birth name, Kresha Easton. And they wrote in all caps, whomever the notary public was, wrote Trahan, Trahan in all caps. And I still have that birth certificate copy here with the seal on it. And so that was my name, Kresha Trahan, not Kresha Easton. There was no approval from my real dad. There was no permission, just like I believe it happened with Colby too. I believe Colby, like his name was changed to Ryan, but he was not actually legally adopted by Joe Ryan. Just like Dennis Trahan did not legally adopt me. They just changed my last name, however they did. Okay. The power of the pen. Yes. So, okay. So then my brother was born when I was 8 years old. And then my parents, they decided they were going to get a divorce when I was 11. They actually woke me up for school, told me to come talk to them in their bedroom. They were like, hey, we're getting divorced. Now go to school and have fun. Don't worry about us. Okay. You know how tragic that was? That was huge. That was a big blow. And then here, go to school, be normal. And I even had to go, I was called as a witness when I was 12 years old. I had to go in front of a family court judge, my mom on one side, my dad on the other. And I'm looking at both my parents. I love both of them. I love them both. There is no boundaries in my heart for my parents. I love them both equally, and I'm sitting here just being asked questions. I don't even know what attorney was even asking it. So I'm on the stand, and I remember instead of verbally saying yes or whatever to a response to a question I had been asked, I just nodded my head. And the judge, he was like, you have to, I took it as he was chewing my ass. Okay. And I cried right there on the stand. I mean, it was very traumatic. So I don't know if that has to do with how I handled things in my adult life in the legal system, by just not
answering, I didn't answer, what do you call those? I had 3 contempt of courts. Okay. Right. Because I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't deal with that. That's so, it's a mind F, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I just do what I have to do to like just pay it and just not have to deal with it, but I didn't. And so I actually had to go to jail for 13 days because of that, is what I'm saying. And I mean, I think it all stems back to all these predicaments I was put into as a child that I should not have been put into, just like what happened here with Tylee. And so I really, really, I understand her situation right here and how that had to have played into that girl's mindset for a long time, really, but especially at the very end of her life there. How that's just tragic and it shouldn't happen. And so I'm taking this opportunity to let people know that this is not normal and to not put your own children in this kind of predicament because you are their protector. They are not your protector ever. Okay. It's your job to protect your own children from these kind of situations. Stop doing it. Don't use your kids as pawns. All right. Okay. And so that's all I'm saying. That's just one part of this predicament here, but it's just, I can resonate with her.
Yep.
I can resonate with her.
All I can say is amen. That's powerful. That's really powerful.
Yeah. It just makes me want to cry, It
Yeah,
just
me too. Me too. And I'm not you and I'm not her. And I want to cry too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hurt. This is about Tylee right here and how Lori's putting her in a very in this enmeshed system, that Megan talked so well about in that last video. And it undermines in this whole thing. It's just it plays into Lori feeling like she needs to be protected by everybody whenever she is so dangerous. She's so dangerous. Okay. Like, I don't know. It just plays into that keep sweet, pray and obey mindset. I'm harmless. Just believe me. I'm blonde, blue eyes. I'm pretty. Just believe me. Okay. She's not showing any proof. She's not, she's just making up generalities.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder what went down in that hour when they left the house. And this is talking about Charles's death. When they left that house in Chandler, they went and dropped JJ off. They went to Burger King. They went and dropped JJ off. They went to Walgreens, got flip-flops. What was that conversation like between her and Tylee? And
exactly.
Did she influence her in what Tylee eventually said in her interview, which we never got to see in the trial, so it didn't play a part in the trial, but still,
it plays a part in the story, in Tylee's story, Charles's story, this entire tragedy that is a tragedy. But Lori cannot say that. Lori is she's forbidden from saying that because she is a tragedy pimp. She is why we're here, she's why all these things happened, why her daughter was in all these difficult situations. Yes, Jermaine. And so by watching Colby, and watching him work through his own trauma and stuff to deal with his mom, which is my aunt, has helped me too. And just like right here, just relating to this in my own situation as well, is I'm just thinking that this happens a lot more than I'm aware of. This happens a lot more. And so I wonder how many times I did this to my own children generationally, like in a generational sense. Like, and I forbid it, I hope I never did. And if I did, I was wrong. That's not for any child to ever have to do. Like I was always like I was the middleman. My brother, you know, he would act out a lot of times whenever I was watching him. And I've really cared for my brother. I still do. I love my brother, you know. I try to be just like how Tylee is with JJ. I was very protective of my brother, still am. And I was always able to relate with Tylee in that sense, you know, how she was with her brother is how I was with my brother. But on so many more things that are uncomfortable than I was thinking initially, you know. I think that this has happened for sure, obviously, to other people. That was really triggering. I was called to testify in my brother's divorce. I was 14 and they had been married since I was 1. My niece and nephew were 10 and 12. They were not called. Wow. Yeah. And mine was for my parents. They're both looking at me. I feel like if I say the truth, or probably, you know, I mean, I can't remember what exactly I was being questioned about, but it was traumatic just being in there and the judge he wasn't, he probably wasn't snapping at me, but I mean, I was just in such a predicament that I should have never been put in. The family court should have never even allowed that, me to have to go testify in front of my mom and my dad, you know, on behalf of one or the other. It doesn't matter. But I know this happens when a child can decide whether or not they are wanting to be with the parent, you know, at a certain age. I think 12, it depends. Different states, but please don't put your children through that. Don't make them decide who they're going to love, and let them love both their parents. Okay? Just because you have a difference of opinion, you know, you're not in love anymore, whatever it may be, that is not on the child. Okay? That has should not reflect upon the child at all. And you should endorse your children and to loving whomever they want. Like, that's not the problem here. The problem here is making the child choose you as a parent or their father as a parent. And if it goes against you, then it's just manipulation is what it is. It's a pawn. You're a pawn and you're in some alternate world. I don't know. It's really crazy.
It is.
But I mean, there's a lot of us who come from divorce. I don't know if you come from divorce, Joe, but it's definitely a position a child never imagines. Okay. First off, it's just like, oh God, you know, our parents are going to be together forever, but that's not the case a lot of times. And
yeah, no, so I was raised Mormon, so my parents were Mormon, and divorce was like the evil thing that you can't do. But they had a dysfunctional relationship, and it resulted in arguing a lot. Yeah. But I never had to get put in the position you were put in. But I did get divorced myself, you know, a few years ago. And we made the decision years back that even though our marriage was difficult, we were going to wait until they were all grown adults before we went through that, before we put them through that. So we did. So they didn't have to go through that. And, you know, it was tough. It's tough when you're in a toxic relationship to keep it going, but you can do it for other people. Yeah. And I'm not casting shame on anybody who can't, like anybody who decides that they can't.
But at least know, you know, I mean, at least like you right now, you're not faulting anybody, neither am I, but just please, if you do identify your own actions and this kind of stuff, you know, just be aware of it and just try to pivot from there. Okay?
Yeah. And you know what part of that falls on the judge? Like, why can't a judge just say, okay, I'm going to take this minor, I'm going to take this child that's parents are going through a divorce back into my chambers, and I'm just going to have a little chat and find out what they really think, what they really feel about who should have custody of them and the whole situation going on. Why do they have to sit down in court in the public eye in front of
their parents? I could care less if it was public or not. I don't remember that part, but what I do remember are both my parents staring at me, feeling really uncomfortable, and feeling like if I say something one way or another, it's going to let one of them down, like it's just, it's a very impossible situation. And then, so then you worry if your parents could still love you, do they, oh my God, it's like, it should just not have, it shouldn't ever factor into the equation.
No. And the fact that Lori in this situation is intentionally putting Tylee in that situation speaks a lot about Lori and her mindset.
Amen. Over and over, because she did this also with Detective Yinklin. And I mean, a lot of people would look at that and just be like, okay, well, Tylee did this, Tylee did that, whatever, but when you really look at the whole of it, and if Charles was behind this too, then he was wrong also. Okay. I mean, he's dead, but he's not exalted. Lori thinks she is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we can do things wrong because we were taught a certain way, but that doesn't mean we have to continue. That I think that's the whole point. That's where I've been able to point out a lot of generational abuse in that sense, where it's just one generation to the next because my mom and dad taught me, so I'm going to do it and I'm going to teach my kids this way. Doesn't mean it's right. It just means that that's how they do things, how you were taught to do things, but doesn't mean it's right.
No, in fact, there's a lot of generational abuse that's very wrong.
Yep. That plays into the whole ritualistic aspect, that, I mean, I'm not about to go into all that, but that's a huge proponent of this.
You're not about to go into that. That's why we're here tonight, Kresha.
It's been 3 hours, Girl, I mean, you'd have to clear out a whole damn schedule for a week, for us to get into every little, it's deep, y'all. And it's caused me to have to rethink my own upbringing, my own generation, my own place in my own family, in my own system, and to question everything about my own upbringing, my own life, my own reality, so I mean, this has been a very surreal, I hate that word, but surreal experience, where I've gone through my own soul searching journey throughout this whole process. And what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. It's not a big debate. It's like it shouldn't be a big debate, but here we are, and just knowing that it's not the norm. It might be your norm. It might have been my norm, but it's not the norm. It was the norm for Tylee, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, because chaos is Lori's norm.
That's it. Chaos. Yes, she's a chaos coordinator. Yeah. She brings it, but that's what she was taught, apparently. So that goes to Janice and Barry.
All the people around her. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
You see how deep that is? That's so huge.
That's
so deep. So yeah, it's worth every deep dive into it, I believe, because I always take away something that I learned for myself in my own life to apply in this life right now, so I think that's why a lot of people want to dig, and peel back all the layers, because they're uncomfortable, they suck, it hurts, but growth hurts. Growth is pain, growing pain. Hello. If you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, lots of good comments in chat.
Tiff Knox, yes, listening to people's stories is one way we all learn. Abso-freaking-lutely. That's the common thread. I think that's why we do what we do. That's why I listen to other people, even in the same situation, even dealing with the same case. Okay. Colby deals with it differently. It's his mom. It's a different dynamic. You know, it's his sister, his brother, his dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's his system. So I like to watch it through his eyes. I used to like to watch it through Annie's, but I can't really, you know, take the digs at my mom too much anymore. So I kind of have to filter through that one a little bit. But I mean, so it's just a different lens. Megan has made that more, I guess, acceptable to talk about, like more okay to talk about it. You know, it's odd. It's such a awkward position to be put into. But it's necessary. It's necessary.
It's odd for her and for me on a couple of different levels. Well, for her, a couple different levels. For me, a level, and for you, a level.
Yeah.
Because she's family and she's also ex-LDS, and I'm ex-LDS, and your family, and so like
never LDS. It's different dynamics. Yeah. You know, one of the saving factors I believe in Colby's case, in Colby's life, is Kelsey. Kelsey, she was raised in a Christian like background, okay, not Mormon, quote unquote Christian, but Christian.
Okay,
and it's like,
Kelsey? Who's Kelsey?
Kelsey is Colby's wife.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so I think that she has been able to bring to Colby a saving grace in a sense, to know the real Jesus, I guess you could say. And if you're looking at it through that lens, you know, like I believe that she was able to show him, not just tell him, show him how Christ is supposed to be, and not so much how Colby was taught or told Christ is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? It's just different lenses to look at it through. Some people don't believe in Christ at all, so I understand that too. But you know, I just try to look at it through different lenses of different situations, and I'm glad that Colby has Kelsey. I'm so grateful for that, and I don't think she realizes how important her role is in this too. You know, in his healing. Yeah, she saw through Lori.
Right. Yes, Lori sees things through her own lens too.
Right. That's what she was given. That's the tools that she was given to operate with. And so, you know, a lot of these tools were not given, you know. It's like I've had to find my own tools. Some are specialty tools, you know, that I have to pick up and design along the way. But it's not like we're given this toolbox with all these tools to just deal with life, you know, perfectly. Okay, I don't think that's it at all. I think that we find out, oh shit, I need a toolbox. And then so you have a toolbox, then you have that, you're collecting that. Then along this journey of learning through other people's life lessons, through other people's stories, you learn, oh shit, I didn't have that tool. I need this tool. I need this tool. You know, so you just kind of collect these tools along the way from other people's pain.
Yeah, okay, that's on the positive side of it, but on the negative side of it, Lori was collecting her own tools, like through her experience growing up in that weird Cox family vibe, and then in the Mormon Church, and then meeting Chad. She collected her own toolbox that led her to do what she did, and it's like it's mind-boggling to me.
It is. And you know, so yes, there's two sides to it. So if there's as above so below, they say, right? So yeah, I try to take the positive mindset, but there is a negative mindset, you know. So it's like, are these just the wrong tools for this game, you know, of life? Or you know, the tools that Lori was given, did they malfunction or something? I mean, it's interesting, right? Yeah, you discombobulated my mind there, so I'm gonna have to go and defend that.
You were talking about collecting tools, and I was like, okay, so her family equipped her with tools, the Mormon Church equipped her with tools, Chad and Visions of Glory equipped her with tools, and they were all the wrong tools. that when all compiled together led to the,
like she found out, oh crap, they don't work for this kind of stuff. These are for a surgeon, and I need these tools for a carpenter or something.
well, no,
Yeah.
she said these tools fit a narcissist. They fit my
Yes.
ability
Nina Marie
to,
said, yeah,
yeah,
for selfish reasons. Yep.
yes.
That's good analogies. I don't know, but yeah, so we're all just trying to figure this out through different lenses, but yet kind of the same, right? Because you can apply it to your own family, your own upbringing, your own generational issues. But I mean, we're just trying to be better people because of it, trying to learn from it, right? I mean, there's this whole learning. This whole case is nothing but a learning curve. I mean, the whole damn thing from top to bottom, left to right. I mean, every which way you turn, there's something to learn and grow from. I think that's an important part. I think that's the most important part is learning to not repeat these same mistakes, these same, to see these different red flags that I didn't know were even a thing. They didn't exist in my world. Whereas now they do. And, now I know that these are red flags, I didn't know before that. So it would take Barry and Janice, it would take my own mom and my dad to come to their own, you know what I'm saying? Like to find where they went wrong in things, so it's a whole for each generation in this, it's a whole learning experience, I believe.
Yeah. And that's in the broad world picture, right?
Yeah.
That's like in our entire lives, what went wrong between our parents, what went wrong in our relationships. But in the microcosm of this trial or these two trials.
Yep. Or these 4 trials. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What went wrong? And it, so I just followed the Idaho trials, remotely online, but being here in person for this trial and for the next one has been a tremendous learning experience for me. And the relationships that I've formed and the weirdness of the case, like her.
It is weird.
It's like it blows my mind sometimes, but being here in person and having relationships and meeting people and being able to support, Tom and other people involved in Trace on the
just
case.
trying to figure it out. Yeah.
We're all trying to figure it out. We are all trying to figure it out.
Right. Absolutely. From media, coverage of it. We want to know why, that's the main question. Why, who, what, when, where, why, how, right? And I've learned on my own through my own research, doing the nitty gritty stuff, that people just don't either have the time for or the brain space for, or it's not personal. So, maybe something personal has to happen for it to just shake your entire world to the core is what happened for me. Is when I found out my uncle was murdered, it shook me. I don't know. I can imagine it, but I don't quite remember exactly how that went. I just know that it's like in that very moment that I found out he was murdered, I knew that it was murder. I knew that he didn't do anything. That was my gut instinct, was he didn't go in there wielding a bat like what had been purported. You know that by your family members' demeanor around you your entire life, it's just out of character. It doesn't sound right. Trust your gut instinct. Now, I'm not saying it's always right, but I mean, for the most part, it's never really let me down. If anything, I've ignored it a great deal. That tends to be when the red flags are blazing. Okay. When I'm trying to ignore things and say, oh no, I'll just go out with this guy because, why not? I mean, it's just interesting. But and there's no foolproof way either. You can just try, but a lot of people aren't even aware of what they want or why they're doing what they're doing. There's nothing behind them to push them to want to get to the answers, to go through all the difficult research, so to speak.
Right. And I think that's why this police interview is so important, because we do see that she was very intentional in using Tylee and in manipulating these police officers. Like, she was very intentional in that.
Even post murder convictions. Yes.
Yep.
Still trying to use her daughter, exploit her daughter, because that's what Lori, the narcissist, in my opinion, has learned, is to grift, is to exploit. They exploit every facet known or within reach. They are going to sit there and use that to try to use that to their advantage. And so she's still exploiting. Lori's not changed. Lori has not been, her shelf has not broken, so to speak. She's not had to sit there in her cell without chaos, trials going on, from her doing, exploiting the law system, exploiting the judicial system too. There are people who do exploit the judicial system as well. Every system,
Right. And she thinks she can because she's pretty and she's
been taught that way.
Yes. She's been that way her whole life until the last 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish watching this interview.
Bring it on, Joe.
All right.
Thank y'all so much for the comments too. I do too. I'm the humor person too.
My friend that's a police officer, he said, go file a report, file a restraining order, all that stuff. I don't want to do all that.
Put it on the screen.
See him, and if you can get the purse back, that'd be lovely.
There you go.
I'm really mad about my lip gloss.
About credit cards.
Well, he has all the cards and all this stuff. So he's mad because I took the money out of our account, but it's a joint account, so he wants me to give him money.
Okay, that's all a civil issue.
That's what I'm saying.
Purse, there's no reason why.
Okay, did she just say he wants me to give him money?
Mm-hmm. The money that she stole. She fails to call herself out. She omits. That's this whole Joseph Smith lying for the Lord thing. I'm telling you, they're taught to omit things. They're taught to. It's crazy.
My gosh!
It's crazy.
She didn't have a job. Where did any money she has? Where did that come from? Tell me that. From
Charles going to basically leave her to be a mom and fend for herself with the kids because he's got to go. Somebody got to go work, right?
Oh.
I'm just saying. But then she uses it to fault him and say that he leaves her there all the time with JJ. So she wanted to show him what it was like to be the only parent for JJ, basically. She's just tired of being a freaking mom.
Your purse, your ID.
Yeah.
That he doesn't have a right to.
Right.
Married
That's
or
what
not
I'm saying.
married.
All the rest of the stuff is our joint stuff together.
Yeah.
So.
And it was. She ain't lying. But I don't think he ever meant for her to take $35,000 and just, YOLO.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Go take it.
Yeah.
Go to Hawaii with your lover with my $35,000.
Yeah. Write some more fake emails.
All right, we'll go back here.
Listen, I like hearing them talk.
You want to try calling or you want me to call?
This one's a little confusing for me, honestly.
They're uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, I would actually love.
Yeah, it's our job to be better. There you go, Hawkeyes.
Okay, Charles.
Yeah, her stupid lip gloss.
This is Officer Edgerton, Denver PD. Is this Charles? Hey, Charles. The reason why I'm calling right now is your wife's at the police department claiming you stole her purse and her cell phone.
He said that's what you said, I think.
Okay, you realize they don't belong to you, correct?
Ugh.
Okay, so that's a civil issue, and she's responsible for every penny. If you guys end up going through divorce proceeding.
She's lucky he wasn't a wife beater.
Okay,
Just
and you also texted a friend to meet you at the house last night? Under the guise that you were her? What was that for? So you texted a friend of hers to meet you at the house last night using her cell phone. What was that all about?
Yeah, she did, JoJo.
Oh, this morning?
I think too.
Okay. Yeah, we read the report from earlier today regarding you not being able to get into the house and everything. So
What did you read the report where you're supposed to bring her to CBI?
I do not have the order in front of me, so I cannot do that.
They're lying. Well,
it's got to be approved, and I know I cannot keep her from. I cannot get her. Well, it's got to go to our sergeant.
It was approved the night before.
Verify that it's good, and
allegedly
we get dispatched.
No, it was approved the night before.
So that's just how the process works. And I can't keep somebody against their will without a warrant or the valid.
Yes, you can.
Well, I'm telling you right now, we have a process. You come here, you turn it in.
He followed your process,
It goes to
you
a
asshole.
sergeant calls the doctor. Okay, well, I don't have that, and for all we know, it's not valid anymore. I do not know.
He's just talking out of his ass.
What I'm concerned about.
Thank you, Northwood.
Yeah, well, that's not what I'm discussing a whole separate issue right now, and that's her getting her belongings back.
Yeah, he had the order.
You're saying it's at the house?
They advised him to get.
Which you changed the locks on, correct? So she doesn't have access to.
Which he changed because she changed them. Oh my God.
So unless you want to be charged with theft, we need to get that purse back to her. If you want to come here with the purse,
yeah, she can steal
order,
35 grand.
I'll try to figure it out. And the purse and her cell phone.
Yeah, same cop.
Okay. So how soon can you be here? We're at the police department, 75 East Civic Center Drive, Gilbert and Warner. Thank you. All right, how long? All right, but he says he's coming with the order.
Yeah, it's so contradictory because
it's going to get real interesting.
Charles followed their own advice for him to do. He obtained the order. They got it approved. It was approved the night before when he met the cop in the darkness, that helped him break into his house because she had changed the locks. And so you got to look up narcissistic abuse because that's what this is. And it lays it out pretty plainly. Then you have Melanie and Tylee here, who are witnesses, who are giving Lori validation to whatever degree she needs it.
And when I talked to him, he was all upset, wondering what are we going to do about that. I have until it is verified by my sergeant that it's still active. They still want you. I can't hold you against your will.
We're just missing the wink, wink.
By my sergeant, which he says could take a little while. Then if it is verified, then I have to take you to Community Bridges. It's a mental health behavior place to get looked at. But while it's being verified, I have no right to keep you and hold you, just so you're aware. So he's supposedly en route with your purse and your phone, and then and the order also, which needs to be verified by my sergeant. So we will facilitate the transfer of the purse and the phone. And
so we don't facilitate the $35,000 she took. You got to deal with that civil. So the way they deal with a man and the way they deal with a woman are two different things in this case.
How we're going to get that to go away, I do not know. You may need to you can probably contact Community Bridges, that's CBI, Community Bridges. We have one, I don't know if you even want to just go up there, at Mesa Drive and Baseline. It's off Javelina.
I don't either, Carolina.
To the freeway if you're going north towards the freeway. Find out what you need to do to prove yourself, because what it is committal paperwork.
Right.
They can hold you for 24, 48, however long they deem it necessary to get you evaluated. Right. Based off just what your husband says.
Okay. I don't get that. what is he telling her about a 24 to 48 hour mental health hold? I didn't hear anything that sounded definitive in that. He just said, if blah, 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 then I can't hold you here right now. But if blah, 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 there could be a 24 to 48 hour hold. Did you catch that?
So you don't know if he actually has the order or not, right? Is that what you're saying? Like, you don't know if he's actually seen it or verified it?
Yes.
And by verifying, you just mean personally, like, or on duty, like ran his eyes across it, right? Because
he just told her right now that he has no right to hold her until something.
Right.
She can get up and walk out right now, in which case, if I were her, I would get up and walk out right now. Be like, you can't hold me? See you later.
Yeah. Mohawk Mom says he's telling her to go there on her own, so less time to stay, and how to beat the system. And so he does. He tells her how not to answer the door, because they can't just go into their house and take them mandatorily to community bridges. Charles did all the right things. He did. The only thing he didn't do was cold cock her. Okay. And I mean, whatever. I'm just saying he did all the right things according to the advice that the Gilbert Police Department advised to him. Okay. From jump, while he was still in Texas, before he even came back and was on that god awful body cam footage of him and the police officer that night, where he's pleading for help with his wife, asking if he can break into his own home, only to break in and find out that she's gone. Everything's gone. Right. Just like Lori said. So yeah, they definitely didn't do any due diligence whatsoever for Charles in this situation. And again, ultimately, it lets down all of the victims, every one of them.
Right.
Yeah. So,
because I'm really.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
She laughs inappropriately and says, "I just think it's funny that blah blah blah." And Tylee is like,
"Yep,
Mom, that's inappropriate."
Right.
Like, Tylee recognizes how inappropriate her behavior is, and she doesn't recognize it herself.
Tylee is the parent.
Wow.
The dynamic, you can see it.
Wow.
The one that did something wrong.
But no, here's the thing.
I'm going to rewind that just like 10 seconds.
North towards the freeway. Find out what you need to do to prove anything else.
So I'm going to use Lori's own question here. When she questioned one of the detectives, if he was, was professional to call these kind of shots, right? Where this cop just rendered her as not being a danger to her or her children. Okay. He does not have that kind of whatever
training.
Okay. Right. So why the hell does he get to sit here and play God, basically, literally, somewhat, by allowing her to pass because he doesn't see her as a danger to herself or her children?
Right.
That to me crosses boundaries.
Yes. If I'm in that position, I'm like, this is above my pay grade. I am passing this off to the certified professionals. You're going to have to go talk to somebody else. Sorry.
Yeah, to CBI, like protocol obviously was put into place and it was not followed. Yeah, credentials. I did not. Yeah, the qualifications.
I'm not going to place that. I'm just going to
training, certifications, qualifications, all of the above.
We will
train. Yeah, definitely.
With force, if we have to. Right. If you're still here when it's approved, we'll have to take you to CBI.
And what is it called? I was just going to write it down.
Community Bridges.
Okay.
That's where we take you. Now, I don't know who.
And this blows her mind.
To get the order taken care of.
That's what I'm saying. How do you even get that? He got that in the middle of the night. How do you get something in the middle of the night?
It's family members can do it for other ones who have like drug dependency or not getting help, mental health.
Yeah, but how would
issues.
He had to come here? Isn't stuff closed?
It's not here. There are places you can go. So,
see, in the Cox dynamics, they've always just taken care of it by bullying each other, I believe.
Right. And
just
he's
up.
Yes. he's sitting there playing with his notepad. He also has some nervous energy going on here too.
Well, that's
He's
the other cop. That's not the one talking. The one talking is to the right of him. But
oh, gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
But this guy's nervous. He's like, shit, what's going down here? What's this woman ranting about? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
Sorry.
So
I wouldn't know Betsy's tag because they've never come out and made a statement or anything, you know.
yeah.
I hope so.
So I'm going
But they'll
to.
be looking for me. That's the whole thing. Like, that's what.
We don't bust down doors to get you, but we will knock. So if you see police officers knocking, talk to them through the door if you really don't want.
About it.
You are going to get a padded room.
Amen, sister.
So
And it's just a joke. It's a joke, but we're not laughing, right?
We're not.
And it does happen to a lot of men. I've watched this happen to my brother. And I mean, there's women who will put a lock in a sock or a bar of soap and whatever. They'll beat their own ass, okay, and then blame the husband for it. Okay, I'm just saying it should be looked at case by case and without bias. It is maddening. There's so many lessons here. So many. And just, how her personality
they're for your safety.
is
it's not illegal.
The gateway, you know, like it's
not
disgusting.
illegal, or it's not illegal to kill yourself. So we don't go busting down doors. But if we make contact with you, there's nothing separating us. At that point,
You can
we
just
know
say
it's
anything
you.
you want about someone and get a mental health order again.
Not so if it's a family member, and depending on what he told the
as
doctors,
it is.
they may usually they'll do it just to be safe.
Otherwise, and we're just undoing all that.
Or something,
right.
Get it.
So something happens, you do something to yourself, he's going to go after those
these
doctors.
kids.
I told you.
We're just doing that to be safe.
Yeah, we're doing what? Just talking shit? Because everything that Charles took your advice on, your department's advice on, advice on, you're undoing it right now by just, well, you don't look dangerous and you look like you're not going to kill your kids or your husband. So, you know, on his discernment. Okay. So what if he's a bishop in a church? Okay. Just think about that. I mean, so, and if this cop does not know that what he did was wrong, there you go again, messing with that cycle, with that system. How can he know unless it's ever brought to his attention and called out? You know what I'm saying? Like if his advisors don't call this behavior out and reprimand him for it and say, no, bad. Okay. Then if there's no repercussions for it, then how are we learning anything? Are we learning anything? Has anything been learned? And then how do we know that? Where's the reflection of the change? You know, how do we gauge this? How do we measure it? It's so deep.
Yeah.
You didn't sign the order. She should have gotten help.
Right.
That sort of thing. So
Do
there
you
becomes
know?
some liability.
Do you know what he said? No.
1 Frank 17. 10:50.
Melanie's over there just like playing with her shirt sleeves.
Mm-hmm. She smelled like essential oils. Oh shit! Diamond Dotton doing says, Joe, there's a new document. Mother effer.
What? Oh no. All right, we're gonna play this, and I'm gonna have to go do a dive into the documents.
Oh, she said came out yesterday. Okay.
Wait. Yesterday.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything since the 17th. So I'll go check while we're watching this craziness.
How do we change our policies and procedures to best protect the people we serve? Yeah. Yeah,
we're
0.
aware. Let me step out. I'll talk to you. All right.
Let me step out. I'll talk to you. What does
I'm
that
with
mean?
you.
Why is he stepping out to talk to
You
her?
can entertain them.
Okay.
Got any knock
That's
jokes?
He dances really nice.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good, like little performance.
Here we go.
Show us
Okay.
your equipment. How
show us your equipment. What a nasty hoe.
Was that Lori
not
that
to get
said that?
too- Yeah, she said, and show us your
What?
whatever
Yeah, right.
equipment.
Yeah, she
Remind that shit. Sorry.
moving on with life.
Yeah.
You really want to be a police officer?
And I like what Heather Rose says here.
Yeah, we're aware. Let me step out. I'll talk to you. All right. Excuse me for a second.
Yeah.
I will come with you.
Temple. No, you can entertain them.
Okay.
Got any knock jokes?
He dances really nice.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good, like little performance.
Here we go.
Show us
Okay.
your equipment. How
What?
Nasty bitch.
Oh
Melanie's just, like she went to Chippendales or something.
Yeah, right.
Well, she got her GED, so she's moving on with life.
You really want to be a police officer?
Maybe. You never know.
We'll look forward to this stuff, man. I'm actually pretty new myself, so I just got on. It's like my first month on training after out of the academy. So
This poor guy.
that's why he's doing a lot of the talking.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, so it's because, like, honestly, this is kind of a more unique call than what I've seen. This is a little bit different. I mean, like, well, and what's unique about it is either the theft or the petition was usually a separate deal. I mean, the fact that all of a sudden he stole your phone and then all of a sudden there's a petition out there too, it's like, whoa. So
Yeah.
I've seen one or the other. I haven't seen both in one.
Well, that's what he was
This-
saying when he texted you that. I'm so sorry I had to
This
do
guy
it.
gives a perfect explanation.
Yeah, it's probably
Look
what
how awkward this is.
Literally hadn't seen JJ for like 6 hours and he'd been at school, so it's not like he said anything. Well, he was out of town too. Yeah, but still.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's a good thing you did come in because it will be a very one-sided story. So it's always good to kind of see what's going on.
That was very smart. Yeah, Jason's.
What was
You
really
have to
cool
tell
because I
my
was, so I was sitting there in the, coming out of her neighborhood after he conned me to go to the house, and I
Con me.
by that fool. And then I see this guy that I know, like, just like
Our good friend.
just
police
like
officer.
right in front of me on the side of the road, and I'm
Oh, wow.
like, that looks like
Just
Jason.
miraculously.
I'm like, hold on, that's Jason. He's a police guy. I'm gonna go. So I'm like, Jason, what are you doing over here? He goes, I was just going visiting you.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, hey, I just want to tell you what's going on. He goes,
Okay, so Northwest says Lori's here to report a crime of stolen purse, but I thought she was here because Charles requested a mental health evaluation.
No, it's because he stole her purse from her vehicle while she was dropping JJ off at school.
Okay, so where does the mental health evaluation come into it, and where she could be placed on a 24 to 48 hour hold?
That's what the officer introduced, right?
So he introduced that
'Cause it-
independently?
I would say so. I don't, because she didn't know you could even do that. So, like, after they talked on the phone with Charles, they introduced this whole.
And I thought they introduced it because he requested it, of mental health
Charles. Okay,
evaluation.
Mohawk Mom says Charles mentioned it to the officer on the phone.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That makes sense to me, that this officer wouldn't just like come out with this out of the blue.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And there were several Chandler police officers who completely dropped the ball. CPD did nothing more than take an incident report regarding Charles's murder. Yeah. Actually, it was
there.
Gilbert Police Department who dropped the ball okay, so that's where it's both police departments are involved in. Okay, both police departments are involved in the investigation regarding Charles. Okay. But that trial's over. So it's like in Brandon's, only Gilbert PD is involved. Does that make sense? I mean, besides contacting one another and communicating with one another, because Chandler had Charles, Gilbert had Brandon, Rexburg PD had the children in Idaho, and Fremont County had Tammy. Does that make sense? No. I listened to Detective Ricky Wright. I'm sorry, Special Agent, FBI Agent Ricky Wright's testimony last night before I went to bed. And, you know, they, from different perspectives, I'm just saying, but that's how the different agencies got involved. And because they were kids, because it was a missing child report, because there could have been possible, it's called the kidnapping act or something. I wrote it down, but I don't have it in front of me. And so that's when the FBI gets involved. And that's how FBI agent Doug Hart, he was basically the FBI case management or whatever. I don't know. Running out of words. I mean, we're looking at this from all kinds of different angles, you know? And so one could actually say that Lori used the cops as her tools at the moment. If you think about it.
Right. And she was able to because they paid more attention to her than they did to Charles.
She manipulated and she played them like a fiddle.
Yeah.
Even though she didn't know about the CBI mandatory hold order. Yeah. I do too, Sonia.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, go down to the Liz office now. I'm like, okay.
I mean,
They were
too.
too.
After he took it and I realized it was gone when I got back to the car, I was like, he's lurking around here. Like, that's creepy by itself.
Yeah.
But two, like, it's everything I have. Like, I don't have anything. I don't have money. I don't have ID. I don't have anything. And
Your
so
car keys are normally attached to your purse.
yeah, but I carried them in my hand. I just had them in my hand. I was dealing with JJ. He was like, he didn't want to go to school. He was like throwing a fit on the ground.
Yes. The moral of the story right there is she was.
So
she
you
said
guys have
this.
separate cars?
Oh. Lori said more than one occasion how it was getting so difficult for her to handle JJ. I've heard her say it in her body cam footage of her with Detective Yinklin, how it was just getting harder and harder for her to control JJ, basically. Okay. He was a big boy, y'all. I have a video of me, him, and me, JJ, and my daughter on the right here at my parents' house, you know, and he's got a dolly and he's putting his little pets or whatever on the foot of the dolly thingy. And I'm like, you're tall. And he repeats me. He goes, I'm tall. I mean, I'm just saying he was like up to my shoulder. I mean, I'm only 5'3", but he was only 7. He was only 6 at that time. So, I mean, he was a big boy. He was a growing boy. And it was getting harder and harder for her to control and manipulate him, I believe. You know, he repeated everything.
Didn't we hear Melanie Gibb also say something about Lori telling her that JJ was hard to handle?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Melanie Gibb say that on one of her interviews?
I think so.
Yeah.
But Melanie Gibb also made JJ out to sound like a gimp, you know, like he was just not capable of, you know, like JJ was going to have what do you call that? Like never be able to live independently or something to that effect. And I'm like, he wasn't dumb. The kid was not dumb like they like to play them. That's how they make them out to be. Because that's one of the main reasons I started sharing, you know, videos about JJ. For sure, was to humanize him. People were like, "Oh, he can talk, he can walk." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" You know, the kid never shut up. What are you talking about? He was brilliant. He was a savant. You know, and again, Tom Evans. You know, he's looking into the ritualistic aspect of this case because of how, like Aleister Crowley, they desire their victim, the perfect victim to them is to have a male child of perfect intelligence, okay, of higher intelligence that's the perfect victim to them, okay? And so JJ fit that big time, you know. Then you look at the virgin sacrifice of Tylee and what that entails for the occult. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty interesting, very alarming.
Yeah,
but
and that's one of the reasons why I'm so grateful for having connected with you in this case, because you brought JJ alive for me, and I see that in him, and I know that in him, and I know, even though I didn't get to know him, I know him through you, and that's one of the things
that's really special. That's
Yeah,
so special to hear, you know, like if I've not done anything else, that is a big old pat on the back for me, you know, then I did that, I accomplished that, you know, for one person. Even that's the whole point, right? It's just like, if this can help one person, because that's what it's about. But Lori is a dehumanizer. You know, she minimizes who they are. She even, I believe now, she called Charles her husband in her last trial, not to just piss us off. I think it was double, you know, it served her in more than one way, but it also distanced her to where she's, okay, it looks like she's defending and saying, my husband, that's my husband, like a term of endearment. However, she's also distancing herself by saying, my husband. Okay, well, your husband's on death row. So what are you talking about, crazy? You know, like it's just, she's so manipulative. And then manipulation can be mistaken for intelligence. A lot of people say she's intelligent. And I'm like, I think she's just really highly manipulative, you know?
Well, there's a difference between intelligent and clever. And I would put her in the clever category, not the intelligent category. And I'll tell you a little story about the difference between intelligence and being clever. So we had, when I was raising my boys, my youngest son adopted a black lab puppy. And this was dumb as a box of rocks. But we had a screen door on the back porch that had these little panels in it. And the screen door was outside of the regular kitchen door. And the kitchen door had one of the push handles on it where you don't turn it. Like, it's not a round knob. It's one of the push handles. He figured out a way, this black lab puppy figured out a way to climb up into those little panels in the screen door and push on that handle on the kitchen door and let himself in the back door. Like, that is one of the most clever animals I've ever seen. But he's still dumb as a box of rocks.
But he's still a dog, right? Right.
Yes. Yep.
I understand. Yeah, that's a good analogy there.
Yeah. She can get close to landing the plane, but she can never land the plane because she's not that smart. Like
she would like us to think she is.
Yeah,
or like she even thinks she is. Or like maybe she's been raised to believe she is. You know, I'm just, I think about how the Cox family must be like, are they proud of her? I mean, what do they think about her? Do they think she's a victim? Do they think that they didn't have anything to do with enabling her? You know, where do they lie? Like, I don't like how they play both sides, where they play this vengeful, sovereign citizen type stuff where they know it all, but then they also play the victim. That's the part that pisses me off. I'm like, you can't be both. You're one or the other. Like,
but she tries to do the same thing though. She does the exact same thing.
Yes.
That's got to be a family trait. That's got to be like, that's got to go back to her dad.
That goes to Mormonism too.
Right. It does.
Persecution complex thing that they have going on.
Yes.
And they think they're still being persecuted. They think they are the saints that are named, you know, that are, and I'm like, just because that's what your church named you, that doesn't mean, that's not what that means. You know, just because.
No, you're taught to believe you're the only one true religion on the entire earth.
And so anybody purporting that, I'm just like, ew, that's disgusting.
That reminds me of the joke I heard years and years, decades ago. So some Methodists and Catholics and Protestants got up to heaven. St. Peter lets them in the pearly gates, and they start walking around heaven. He's giving them a tour of heaven, and they walk past this one room that's closed off all by itself. He's like, we got to be really quiet around here. That's the Mormons. They think they're the only ones up here.
Oh, Lord. Right. I need to get some good Boudreaux Thibodeau jokes together also. Because it's funny, you know, that Boudreaux, Brandon's last name, and here he is. He's from Mormon USA. Okay. And then here we have the Thibodeaus that came also out of the same ward as Lori and Zalema and Melanie Gibb, who were also doing this. You need to check into that case too, where this woman allegedly tried to kidnap her son, or kidnapped her son, whatever it was, Blaze Thibodeau. And this happened a couple of years ago, and they actually used Lori's name in, they referenced her case. Okay. It was a crazy case. I gotta say, I have my own suspicions, but basically the same thing that Lori and Chad and Alex were doing with Tylee and JJ and running to the promised land, basically Zion, and, you know, ushering in the second coming of Jesus Christ. That's exactly what the Thibodeau lady did. Spring Thibodeau was her name. I'm like, Boudreaux and Thibodeau right there in damn Arizona. Okay. What the hell? It was just that, in my opinion, is weird. But then how this woman, and it was from the same ward as Lori and all the kooks. Okay. So what is happening at this temple in this ward is what I'm wanting to dig into.
What's going on there? Do you know what ward it was? Because I could go there this Sunday. I could have.
No, I don't know exactly, but I mean, we'd have to look at Lori's address, and it's where Bishop Gabe was too, and that's obviously where Jason Mao was too.
Right. I think I may need to go to church there this Sunday. Put on my white shirt and tie.
Do some New Name Noah research.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll let me participate in sacrament though. No bread and water for me.
Oh, you have to take us in for your bishop interview for the questions to see if you're temple worthy. Please. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, the two boys, it was just one boy. He was like 16 or 17. His name was Blaze Thibodeau. But yeah, they found him, and they got him when they were in Alaska. But the whole story doesn't make sense to me. It was really weird. It was really weird. But I'm glad nothing happened to the boy. You know, like, I'm just glad about that. I just wish that the religion would stop being so damn deceitful and stop breeding these fringe people you claim that they are. Okay. I'm just like, it don't add up to me. It adds up to something sinister. Okay. And that's something that I had actually whenever, before the kids were found, and I had like a dream or something, and it was my Uncle Charles. And he said that he said it just like this. He said, our deaths will uncover something far more dark and far more sinister. And I remember waking up and thinking, zombies, hello, zombies, pretty freaking out there, you know, like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, but now I get it. And the something far more dark and far more sinister part of it is the Operation Underground Railroad, the trafficking, the exploitation that goes on to the nth degree, the control, the manipulation, the indoctrination, the MK Ultra shit, you know, just all the control tactics. It's so wild. And I mean, I've kind of had to look it up in layers, thank God, because holy shit, it's a lot to take in. I'm like, what are you talking about, MK Ultra? It sounds weird, you know, but it really is par for the course in a high demand religion like Mormonism. And so you got to think about it in Scientology. You got to think about it in the scope of Catholicism and so on and so forth. Whatever system, hip hop, if you're Diddy, you know what I'm saying? Like it's very interesting. It's fascinating to me. Yes, people have always used religion to manipulate. That's it. And so that's what they're doing, using religion and dogma to manipulate. Yep. Totally.
Yep.
I agree with you.
Do you want to watch the rest of this interview?
Not really. It's only been 4 hours.
It has been.
Yeah. So I did pull up a JJ video.
Okay.
To end
I
on.
would much rather watch that. Oh my gosh.
So let me grab it. It's Hey Momo, Hey Popo. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So Mom and Larry show up at JJ's school one day to surprise him. And so, yeah, get ready.
You got the lion?
Hey, buddy. Hey, Papa. Hey, Papa. Hey, Prince. Give me a hug. A little lion. Hey, Papa. Yeah. Give me Papa.
Come here and give me a hug. Oh, my baby. I love you so much. Oh, look how big you are.
Give me another hug. Hey, Prince.
You are. Where's your jacket, buddy? Oh, there.
Hey, Prince. You lion.
You want Papa to carry it?
It's so heart-wrenching. Yeah. But he's not dumb. Okay. That's one thing that kid is not, is dumb. And he was so excited. And that just encapsulated it, you know, and shared. And I'm just so glad that was captured.
Thank you for
But
sharing
thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for letting me share it. And I wish I had Tylee, you know, I don't, but she's in my heart always. Just, that's all I can say is I carry her in my heart. I carry them in my heart. And they're the center. They are the heart of every one of my discussions. They have to be. So thank you. Love always wins. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. So you ready to wrap it up?
Ready to wrap it up.
All right. Thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
Even with all my issues?
We figure it out. We'll always figure it out. Yeah.
I feel like I'm competing with Lori with issues sometimes, but no, I'm not. But mine are just sound issues, okay? Her are legal issues because of the choices she made. And so you made your bed, sleep in it. That's how I feel. But there's definitely many life lessons, many lessons to learn from the deaths of these victims. And to me, that makes it count for Lori. She's always about, doesn't count for me, but it does count to her. It does count for her. It counts against her. And every time that we talk about these things, it makes it count against her. So thank y'all so much. And thank you for letting me on.
We're going to see justice. We are.
Oh, yeah.
We're 75% of the way there. 25%.
Oh, yeah. We're at the damn, I can see the finish line from here. Yeah. So thank y'all. And
thank you, Kresha.
I had to skip out on Sunday's stream because I've been in the hospital twice. Jason's been in the hospital once for a long time now. But I've gone twice since he's been in for this whole 10 days, 11 days. And so that's why I wasn't available Sunday for a live stream. I had a gallbladder attack, another one, and they're very painful, very, very painful. So no surgery. I don't know. I have to contact my general practitioner tomorrow and, see that thing through. But I just wanted to let y'all know that's why. And, but I do want to schedule some afternoon live streams to go over the Boudreaux, to prepare our minds for Brandon Boudreaux trial, which is coming up very fast. And I appreciate the work that you do, Joe, and informing us, and Trace, everybody that does is boots on the ground. You know, I just appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
We appreciate you, and also thank you to T-Suze for gifting a membership. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Definitely. So just y'all apply it in your everyday life. Love always wins, and it will, and it does. It will.
You know how to wrap it up.
Does, right? I can tell you who should wrap it up, but anyways, yeah, you got to go in the gutter. All right. Thank y'all so much.
Justice. Justice for JJ, Tylee, and Charles, and Joe. Love
and
always
Tammy.
wins. And Tammy, yes. Love always wins.
Bye, guys.
Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. If we put in the time. Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of Joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about